there, movie fans. This is Sequel Suck, the podcast dedicated to all things sequels, remakes, and bloody murder. It's another special episode that we are going to do for you here today, giving a little rest to talking about individual film, and we are talking murder, baby. This episode, we're going to be ranking the Scream deaths through all 5 of the Scream films. We're going to be talking about all 45 brutal murders that occur in this much loved franchise to get us all just a bit excited and warmed up for Scream 6, which, as we all know, is coming out pretty damn soon. So there's a couple of things we decided in advance of getting into the episode. We'll run through really quickly so you know what the hell we are talking about. First of all, we're talking about the 5 Scream films that have currently been released. If you listen to this after you've seen Scream 6, we recorded it beforehand. Don't at us. We've got some criteria to help us kind of decide our order. We're going to be going from worst kill to best kill in our opinions. None of us know each other's lists yet. We independently worked out our orders, and just like in our ranking of the Scream songs episode, which you can go and listen to if you haven't checked that one out yet, we're going to be fighting to try and get the ranking we want around each other. We go one at a time, and we're going to pitch a kill. We worked out the order in advance through a random number generator, so you didn't have to listen to that. And the order we're going in is Michelle, Cable, and then me, Gus. And that's how we're going to run through over and over and over again through all of the kills. Now, the most important thing is the criteria that we've decided upon. The criteria we've decided upon is this. For a kill to be ranked, we're looking at these things: inventiveness, the surprise or the shock factor of the kill, the emotional impact that the kill has, the story impact that the kill has, how friggin' cool it looks, because honestly, like when we're watching these movies, that starts to become a pretty big thing, and the originality of the kill. You know, is it something that we've seen in another Scream film before? Is it something we've seen in other films before? Is it something we've never seen or thought of before? That is what we have in our brains when we are deciding where they're going to go in order. And we have 45 of these to tackle. A little asterisk. Technically, there are 46 on-camera deaths or reveals, because not everyone we see die. Sometimes we see their dead body afterwards. We are omitting the cop/security guard. I can't remember
Detective Clay.
Scream. Detective Clay. He has a name.
Mm-hmm.
We are omitting Detective Clay in Scream 5, who is the guy who is stationed outside of...
Which is terrible that I don't understand why he's called Detective Clay, because it feels like the role he's got as a hospital guard is well beneath his pay grade and his rank.
Security guard Clay.
Backstory there. Maybe Clay has really pissed off the upper brass, and they're like, you know what, you're on hall monitor duty, chump. So because it's such a small, inconsequential thing, it happens off camera. It's not a character that has anything to do with anything. We just decided we're not going to bother with that. So that's out. So technically there's 46 in the 5. We're only doing 45 because we don't care about Detective Clay. We are also not doing pre-film or in-between film deaths. So Sydney's parents aren't included because they don't die in one of the movies. They die between movies. And any other character you can think of, you're like, what about them? If they didn't die in a movie, we're not talking about it because who gives a damn?
And I think we need to, the elephant in the room, until this new movie comes out and something might change, our version is Stu Marker is dead and he will be counted or ranked in this ranking. That could change, because I did see a ranking from a few years ago which actually ranked Kirby's death, which is now a non-death.
Which obviously Kirby is not going to be on this list, because we know from, even without seeing the movie, that Kirby is alive and well in Scream 6. So yeah, if they come back, well, we can't know that in advance. But here's what we know so far as of February 2023. That is a big preamble. Cable and Michelle, how's it going, guys? Are we ready? Are we feeling pumped?
I'm ready. I'm a bit worried because I feel like you're going to be really upset.
Final podcast.
I think you're going to be upset about maybe the final death, and I'm starting to think I know what it is, because you're really passionate about what should be last. And if it's the one I'm thinking, without preempting too much and spoiling it, I feel like at one point I had that as the last death too, and then when I started really looking at everything and taking into you know, like the criteria into equation, I was kind of like, you know what, it's not the worst death, but it's not the worst death scene, I should say. But then I'm like, I feel like Angus is very passionate. This is the worst. So it's going to be interesting because I would probably argue against that if I'm correctly on the same wavelength as you.
Yeah, look, this is something I've been pretty passionately and aggressively going on about in the group chat the last few days. Is I have an ironclad worst and best death, and I'm pretty passionate about them. And I have threatened several times to quit the pod and never speak to either of you again if I don't get my way.
It depends how we want this to go.
Yeah, so this, this could be my final hurrah. I'm gonna read from a pre-prepared statement that we can edit out if it goes a certain way. But in case it doesn't, I do not now, nor do I ever endorse this bullshit ranking that has been forced upon us. I'm sorry to the listeners that they have been forced to listen to this egregious miscarriage of justice, and in no way, shape, or form does this represent me or my values. We can cut that out later, but in case it doesn't go the way that I want, I do want it on the record. And it is something else that we didn't mention at the top. It is like our last ranking episode where we each get 2 vetoes. So if somebody throws a ranking out, each person has 2 opportunities to go, hell no, to try and save something they think should be higher up the list for later on, or to perhaps try and push something into a position.
Only 2? How many did we have last time?
5.
I think we had
and it's for about the same.
We had 5 last time,
one
to each.
It was about the same. I was going to say it was about the same amount of songs to deaths, is it not?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there is, but I think we're better to limit it just to try and push it forward and to really. I also wanted to limit it so that when you guys don't get deaths in the position you want them, you feel as angry as I do about not getting my way. So
and
I'm
a
not
lot
the
of
only
them
one screaming insults.
A lot of them are a bit interchangeable, I reckon, on this list. Like a lot of them are just non-issues.
I think we're going to find when we get to the middle, there is a pretty consistent middle. I think the bottom and the top is going to be where blood is drawn.
Yes, our blood.
So as I said, the order that we worked out at random is Michelle, then Cable, then myself. So Michelle has had a lot of pressure put on her in the last 48 hours. As it dawned on me that she may not think the way I think, and that could be a problem for
I hope she
everyone.
just doesn't buckle to peer group pressure here.
Yeah, I'm not Stu. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Right.
All right, number 45. Let's kick it off, no?
All right. Are you ready, Michelle?
I think so.
Okay. Let's dive in. This is our Scream Kills Master List, Screams 1 to 5. And according to Michelle, the worst death out of all the 5 movies is
Angelina Tyler from Scream 3.
You guys should get out too! It's crazy to still be here!
All right, I quit. See you later.
I had a different one. It was changing back and forth, but I'm sticking with that one.
State your case for why you made this stupid decision.
Well, you barely see it. She gets stabbed so quickly. She's dragged off screen. For all we know, she could still be alive. And it's just like nothing good happens. There's no lead up and just no one cares. She's like a non-issue character.
What do you mean she's a non-issue character? She's the main character after the originals in Scream 3. Literally, she's playing Sydney.
Yeah, but does anyone care?
I kind of agree with Michelle. I think the problem with the kill is I still think they had plans for her to be the second killer, and they hedged their bets. So that kill is not really. It feels a little bit fake. It doesn't feel as genuine, and it feels a bit weird. And again, emotionally, I don't know if we're connected enough to her to care. Yeah, I think it was a really lame one. But obviously, Angus, you got something better. But
you want to use your veto already?
I mean, I nearly did. To be honest. But who knows what the hell Kay was going to throw out there. So I may need to hang on to it. Yeah, you can leave my preamble in that I said before, my prepared statement. Don't edit that out.
Don't edit it out.
I don't agree with this. I already don't agree with this list.
I'm going to be annoyed if my one I did have as last is your last, but I still don't know where your head's at.
All right.
If he gets it, it's still going to be third last, and we can debate that anyway.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I'm mad, and I'm not going to talk to you again, but there we go. 45 is Angelina Tyler from Scream 3. Cable, what do you got?
I've tossed up, there's a couple towards the back end of my thing, and they've kind of interchanged a bit like what Michelle said. Mine have sort of interchanged because I'm like, how serious is it? what have you. But I'm actually going to go to Scream 4, and it's one of the first official deaths is Marnie Cooper.
People live, people die, and you'd better start running.
Marnie?
We don't see enough on screen, and it's more just her dead body getting thrown through a glass, and it's a lead up to Jenny Randall's sort of death. And I just like, it's a bit of a nothing death. Yeah, there's a bit of a joke on the phone and what have you. But apart from that, it's just not. It's a bit of a nothing. Similar to the Angelina Tyler. Like, there's not much to it. We don't really see it. It's all playing on the audience, I guess, shock and surprise, and not knowing exactly what happens. Is it part of the gag? Is it real? But overall, we don't. I think what happens, unfortunately, in Scream 4 as well, we don't really see the payoff with actually seeing the crime scene afterwards. I think if we had seen the crime scene, which is deleted scene and in another version has actually been put back into the film, I think that would add a little bit more to it. But the fact that it was just like, we don't really see it as much, we just see her dead already, is kind of like, eh.
Well, you're both wrong, but all right, fine. It's it's all for the bin anyway. But look, it's certainly not a good death. There's no arguments that it's a top tier one. And it was something I had low.
I had it a little higher. But...
Yeah, I mean, I had it a little higher, but it's I think I can see a case where that one is really, really low down, and that's fine. I think that's all good. Yeah, fine, good.
I'm so interested to hear. Yep.
I don't understand how there's any confusion or question about this. It's Dewey Riley. It's the worst death in the series. Everything about it. Everything about it. Every single part of Dewey's death is dumb. From him turning around and going, "Oh, I've got to go back and shoot him in the head," to him get distracted by a fucking mobile phone, to whichever one of those weak piece of crap killers in 5 killed him and lifted him off the ground with a knife. It makes no sense for the story. It does nothing for the story. All it does is piss people off. There's no emotional impact. It's just rage. Nothing about it. But nothing about it was worthwhile. Nothing about it pays off.
What about your emotional impact?
Yeah, well, that's emotional impact.
But being angry because you fucked up some part of the storytelling is not having an emotional impact because of something that happens to a character.
But were you not sad that he died in Scream 5?
Like when Randy dies, it's like, oh my God, not Randy, but it has an impact that is warranted and pays off as a part of the film. And it's something that, especially when you find out who killed him and why, you're like, oh, wow, okay, yeah, that makes even more sense. And that hurt, but, it's a dangerous game. There was no reason that Dewey would have been, he had a gun pointed at their head, ready to kill them. The phone rings. Oh, the phone's ring. Blam, blam. I'll shoot him in the face. Then I'll answer the phone. No, Dewey, the one person who is set up through all of Scream 5 to know better than everybody else how to deal with a ghost face, gets distracted by a phone when he's about to kill a ghost face. Was it 3 a.m. and they wanted to go to bed? How did they come up with that bullshit? Worst.
You can't see Cable's face, but spoiler alert, we had a discussion without you off air, and he did mention he thought this was going to be US, so maybe you should have stuck with it.
Because nothing about it pays off. Like, it's not warranted. Like, yes, I'm upset that Dewey is dead, and I knew that they were going to kill him in this movie. Like, that was blatantly obvious from their marketing. But they didn't have to do him like that. Like, that is the worst way to kill that character. If you got to kill him, fine, but make it worthwhile. What are you doing? Pathetic misuse of a great character. Terrible death. Not original. He got stabbed in the guts. Oh, wow. We haven't seen that except for 9 other times in these movies. Come on, man. Are you going to try and veto that?
No.
I hear a lot of your points, but I kind of disagree.
State your case.
I think there's probably 20 worse deaths than this. I think you're so upset with it, and I understand your other points. I think if this was a death scene for a different character, I think your feelings would be a lot different.
Absolutely, but that's part of the reason why it is the worst death, in my opinion, because you took not just a great character, you took one of the main characters who's been in every film and been such an important part of every film, and you gave them an unworthy death. So it's not just that it's not a very interesting death scene, it's that of all the ways that you could have taken that character out, that was the least effective way that you could have done it. And I think that is why it's so frustrating, because it's not just that it's kind of a ho-hum death. It's that, no, you did Dewey in a really dumb way. Like, he got distracted by a phone when he was literally pointing his gun at the killer, when he's spent the entire movie being set up as the guy who's going to save you from getting killed by Ghostface.
Look, I'm not gonna fight it because you're so passionate about it. You couldn't get it to last spot, so I'm gonna leave it. But I actually did have it a lot higher. But I also respect. I know what you're saying. I still think they could have done Dewey better. More memorable and or honourable death could have been definitely on the cards of Dewey for sure.
Hashtag justice for Dewey.
I had it way higher, like near the top high, but you've kind of won me over.
Wow.
And like, I agree with the fact that like shoot him in the head, like he knows better. And also too, I didn't have the emotional response to it because it happened and I was like, well, we knew that was going to happen. Like, that was my response when I saw it. So I'll allow it.
Yeah, and look, it's definitely an interesting debate because I think it's weird because I hear what you're saying about the phone, and I think they wanted to tap into the whole he's distracted by the love of his life, Gail, who's ringing. They wanted that emotional connection, but you're right. I mean, him falling for that or kind of being distracted and losing his life because of that seems silly. But then I sort of think, well, it's Dewey. Like, he would have done anything for Gail, but he was that, he had oozing to do. Like, he kind of is that sort of bumbling character a little bit still. Like, so I kind of like, well, but maybe that's still in his wheelhouse that he would get distracted for that moment, and I don't know. Anyway, it is what it is. But I will leave it there. We'll leave it there.
I kind of think we all would. If your phone, like, it's sort of sometimes a natural reaction to just be like, oh shit, my phone's ringing. Like, whatever you're doing, don't you reckon?
No,
because you don't think he's gonna wake up and stab the shit out of you.
Okay, you or me?
Mm-hmm.
All right. A trained police officer who has dealt with 7 Ghostface at this point, who knows that Ghostface hasn't been shot in the head and is most likely to come back and kill him. And he's specifically gone. But like, if he was walking through a room and thought there was a Ghostface but wasn't sure, and his phone rang and then got jumped, be like, dude, keep your friggin' head up. No, he was literally aiming a gun at Ghostface. And it was like, bring. He's like, oh, 1 second. I just got to check this real quick.
I say we set it up and test this theory out.
Okay. That brings us to 42. All right. And back to Michelle.
So from Scream 4, Robbie Mercer.
Ooh. That's me. That's too low for Robbie. That's mean.
Really?
Yeah, I've got that. I've got a bit higher than that.
I mean, the reverse camera gag alone is pretty fun.
Mm-hmm.
And we only see that once. That's original. It's pretty sad when you find out like it's his best friend who brutally murders him. Like, his real like only friend in the world who's betraying him like that. And it hasn't dated the best, but just like the way that they set up the only way to really not die in a horror movie these days is to be gay. And he's about to be like, I'm gay. And Ghostface actually stops.
If it helps.
Maybe.
Yeah, like that for a film series that has always leaned into the comedy aspect of the horror. That's pretty fun. That's a pretty fun death.
Oh, but as far as characters, like, it's not my favorite, so I just don't really.
See, we know these. She's going to list all the Scream 4 deaths first. You know this.
That's not true.
Oh boy.
I don't know. What do you reckon, Angus? Are we going to sort of say pick again? Because I kind of had a lot of. I still think there's definitely some death scenes that are.
There's so many worse deaths. Not just like characters who are like meh, but like the actual killing of the character and the way that it's handled.
You're not going to be happy with my next one either, so.
If it's Jill, I'm vetoing it.
It's not Jill, but it's Scream 4 related.
Oh, God's sakes. Really?
Yes.
Well, give us your next one then.
All right, so from Scream 4, Deputy Anthony Perkins, who got
I
stabbed in the head.
Veto. No
really?
Chance.
Fuck Bruce Willis.
Chance. Are you serious? No.
It's my least
There's
favorite
no way
part of that movie.
There's
But
no
don't
way
worry.
in hell that low.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was thinking of Hoss. I was thinking of Deputy Hoss for a second.
No.
Not Hoss, Perkins.
Yeah.
That's in the forehead.
Yeah, but we've never seen that before.
Never seen before, and it's fun. It leans into the comedy of Scream,
It's a horror movie.
Yeah, but it's a horror movie that takes the piss out of itself at every opportunity.
Right. Well, remember to laugh when you get stabbed in the head.
Yeah, I hope you do.
So,
Yeah, no way. No, not
Well,
a chance.
You don't need to veto that one then.
Oh, okay, good.
All right. Scream 2.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Scream 4 again.
No. Officer Richards, who gets the pipe through his head.
No.
Oh my God, what do you? No, did you? Are you out of your mind?
No,
What is
I'm
Have you got
not.
any? Is there any criteria you looked at all?
No, I
Did
don't
you look
follow
at the
the rules.
originality one? Did you look at
Yes.
the shock factor,
Yes.
the surprise? Like, what do you? And then that whole scene.
Officer
only is that
Andrews
death
is a worse
cool-
death than that.
Yeah,
No, it's not, because that one's like a surprise. You don't see him coming. This one's just like,
Oh,
oh,
you
whoopee.
thought he was going to get a pole through his head,
Well,
and then you
he's
thought
driving into that.
was going to be a major factor for the whole scene. Like him with his pole through his head is such a huge problem for the characters after the fact. It's also the solution because the pole goes through, and that's how they pull the grate back.
You know, I said we could have done this in alphabetical order, and you could have gone first.
It wouldn't matter who went first. We're a couple of people.
No, you can't keep hiding at the back of the line, Michelle. That's the thing.
Oh, fine. Next.
This is absurd. This is no, you can't. If I have to
This
use a
might be
veto for that, I
my-
will.
This might be my last podcast episode.
Yeah, if I'm forced to use a veto on that, I will. That's too cool of a death to be.
no.
No,
I'll
you don't
support
have to. All right, Scream 3, John Milton, throat
Yeah,
slit
great.
by Roman.
When I can make it happen. Any picture, name your budget, script approval, final cut.
I already have it.
Great. Perfect.
Moving
No
on.
complaints. Cable?
No,
Any
that's
issues?
fine.
Yeah, that's perfect example. That is a boring ass death that like is just dealt with so haphazardly and then move on, and it means nothing to anything really. Like,
And he
the
was a
fact that he
jerk
was-
as well. Yeah. and no one
Yeah.
cared.
And they set up like he was probably the reason why Sydney's mother, got so messed up because he had those parties where all the actors had to do that stuff, and then he gets his throat slit, and it's like, oh yeah, we're just immediately going to forget about all of that because he's dead, so we're just going on, and no one is going to talk about Milton ever again.
But
Yeah,
like
great.
fun
John
behind the
Milton.
scenes thing, he had his hands bound and Scott Foley threw him to the ground, not realizing he couldn't protect himself.
Look, Lance is a pro. If anyone can handle it, it's him. 42. All right, Cable, you're up, slugger.
Yeah, I'm going to say one that we sort of just touched on. And yeah, Michelle's right. There's a little bit of shock value, but overall, I think you can sense there's something about to happen when the car stops at the lights and it's like, oh, where are you going to take us? Oh, if we tell you that, I'll have to kill you kind of thing. And ha ha ha, and bang, the window gets smashed and his throat just gets slit and he gets pulled out of the car. Officer Andrews, Scream 2.
Don't ask, don't tell.
I just think there was a little bit of shock there, but there's no, emotional value to the character. It's a very quick, clean death. It doesn't really stay on it too long. It gets straight into the next part. Yeah, it's a bit of a nothing. Quick one. Carnage Candy, Scream 2, done.
Yeah, I have no real complaints against this one. There's a shock, but there's little else to keep this one going. Any complaints, Michelle?
No.
All right, then I'm up. I don't know if you guys are going to fight me on this one or not. I'm interested. I'm in the dark as to your feelings on this. But my pitch for the next one is Roman Bridger, Scream 3.
Doing what? Head! Shoot him in the head!
Ooh.
He just kind of dies. Dewey shoots him in the head, and it's kind of fun. Like the head, Dewey, the head. But it is like the third time we've seen that gag now. No,
Yeah.
the fourth time we've seen that gag. Oh no, third time. Yeah, they do it with Billy. They do it with Mrs. Loomis, and then they do it again with Roman. So it's the third time we've seen it, and it's like it's not bad, but it's not memorable. And I think it's the worst of the killer deaths, which is why I rank it pretty low. I think of all the ways that killers get killed in the 5 movie.
Well,
But
I was actually gonna say in the lead up or the prologue to this that's the only thing with some of the killers. I think because they're unrobed and normally there's a gun in that last sort of scene, I do feel like a lot of the killers' deaths are a bit like there's maybe a little bit of a chase, a bit of a struggle. So it's hard. It's almost like you need to rank them almost separately a little bit. But I had Bridger a bit higher, but I hear what you're saying. It is a bit. I like the lead up when she stabs him with the ice pick, and I reckon that's a really cool that sort of fight part of it. But then, yeah, obviously he gets back up and the head. I think it maybe leans a little bit too into the comedy, a little bit. No?
Yeah, which I mean, I think
Yeah.
I guess you could say that of pretty much everything in Scream 3.
Yeah.
If you're going to start down that road, it's like, oh yeah, and that scene, and then Jay and Silent Bob show up, and then it just starts to snowball a little bit. I mean, I'm not as passionate about this one as I am about other ones on the list, so I am open to debate. But if you guys don't have any arguments against it, I don't see anything that really makes his death very memorable or cool or original or any of the things.
Yeah.
All right.
I guess I'm happy to leave it here.
All right. 40 is going to be Roman then. And our first killer is off the board. If you are playing along at home, drink. So responsibly. I don't know what kind of trouble we can get into. All right. Roman Bridger is 40, and we're back to Michelle. How are you going to break our hearts this time, Michelle?
Scream 4, Deputy Hoss.
Damn it. You should have seen the look on your face, rookie.
Oh, 100%.
Adam Brody.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Fine. No. Yeah, I didn't have that much higher than this myself, honestly.
Neither did I.
Yeah. Again, it's pretty just a meh. That's a shame. I like him. I like the actor, but it does not much to the story. All right. So 39 with an absolute whisper. There goes Ross Hoss. Ross Hoss. That's his name. How fun is that? Ross Hoss. They really had fun with this one, didn't they? All right. Cable. Who's going to be 38?
Okay, this is one that I think might be semi-controversial. It's from Scream 5. There is definitely shock value to it because it's a reveal. But Liv McKenzie getting shot in the head, blown away at the end.
Ooh, yeah, no.
I have that
I
a
think
lot
that-
higher.
Yeah, I think that deserves, but that's like one of the only deaths in the movie that made me go, oh, cool, because it is.
Yeah,
it's
there's massive
definitely-
shock value, but personally, I didn't really love Amber's reveal. Like, it's kind of cool a little bit, but I don't know. I'm like, you just shot the other red herring in the room, and it takes somebody out of that final equation, which I think limits that whole end scene as well. The more I've seen it, I kind of think there could have been. I don't know. I just.
I had that higher on my list than Roman.
Well, it's up to you two.
Yeah, look, I'm curious about. I wonder if there's some that we're all thinking are kind of like, oh, this one or that one, but because there's three of us, they're all kind of melding together, and suddenly one that you or I might be like, yeah, that's like, really low, is like 8 to 10 places higher on Michelle's or on Cable's, because it's just interchangeable. I really think there's a lot more genuine.
Yeah, all right. I'll give you another one then.
deaths.
Her brain was like splattered on the wall.
Yeah, I'm not debating it, but it's very quick. There's, when you think of inventiveness and all that other stuff, I looked at all the other criteria, and I think, okay, there's the shock phase, but like what I said about Officer Andrews, I think it's quick. It's a shock the first time you see it, but there's nothing else to it. There's not as much substance, whereas there's so many other deaths where there's a bit of a chase, there's a bit of suspense built up, and then something happens or there's something really cool. I'm like, blowing someone away, I think it's more cool because it's the reveal of the killer. It's not necessarily her kill.
Yeah, that's a good argument.
That's the way I saw it, but I also respect if you guys think, yeah, there's worse ones, I'm happy to investigate that. But I just thought it's so quick. There's a shock. Like, shit, like I thought she was it could be one of the killers. The killer's revealed herself by blowing her away, and then that's it. There's no lead. It happens that quick. Snap of the fingers. There's no lead up to it at all. And I don't know. I don't know. We're talking about emotional value. There's no emotional value to Liv. I didn't think. I thought they just set her up as a red herring for the whole movie. And then personally, I think they did a disservice for the story in that there was already a small pool of killers available, and you have a killer reveal themselves by killing the other really good red herring in the movie. And I thought that just diminished the numbers too much in the house, and I think that was actually a disservice to the film. So I think storyline-wise, I don't think it was great either. But that's purely.
But they're all great arguments. I'm not going to use a veto on this. So if you're really going to push for it there, I'm not going to.
I'm happy. I'll throw one up. Another one. I'll be fair. I'll throw another one up if you want. If you both think it's much higher on your list, I'm happy not to waste vetoes, and we can investigate something else.
All right. What else? What else have you got? What else is in the bag?
Okay. Now there's slight emotional value in this one, possibly, but again, I think it's a very quick again, a bit of a shock, but it's quick over, and the movie has to keep moving. So the characters keep moving. This is Scream 2, and it's Hallie McDaniel. I think it's a shock value, but there's no lead up. The whole lead up is the build up of them getting out of the car. And then it's just like, bang, Sydney has to run. And it's kind of like there's no sitting on it. There's no dwelling on it like Dewey or Randy or anything like that. And it's that so quick. But it just felt like that's the one thing I don't super love about Scream 2, even though I love that movie, is that I think the killer getting out, being able to get out and somehow get all the way up there almost undetected. I don't know. For me, I just think it's a couple of quick stabs and that's it. It's nothing. Again.
No, I completely agree. I had this one pretty low as well. I think, we know pretty off for certain at this point that she's not one of the killers because of the whole backseat of the car thing. And we also know pretty well from the way that she's set up that she's fodder to get killed. Like she's going to hang around towards the end, but she's not making it through the whole movie. So when it comes, it's like, yeah, she's dead. And you're right. It's just like one and done. The big emotional death is Derek in that movie. Hallie really is just like, oh, your roommate's dead. And she never, ever, ever comes up again in any shape or form in any Scream film. So no argument from me. What do you think, Michelle?
No, I'd prefer that than Liv.
All right.
Cool.
Well, okay.
All right.
Lock that in at 38.
Right. 38 is Hallie McDaniel. All right. My pitch for the next one is one that I genuinely kind of thought one of you would have pitched by now, just because it is a big old nothing death for a character that means nothing to anyone but one character. I'm pitching Christine Hamilton, Scream 3.
Behind you!
Yep.
I mean,
Yep.
it was a
I'm happy
reshoot
with
for
that.
starters. It wasn't even part of it. And then the only person who cares is Cotton. And it just kind of, I didn't care about this character. She meant nothing to anything and then was gone. You can tell it's a reshoot. It really just kind of sticks out. And you're like, why? We didn't need that. Any complaints?
No, I didn't have her very high. I think it's very quick, one and done. Is very similar to Hallie. Like, I think I mean, obviously the setup, because we have the voice changer being able to replicate other voices. Even though I think it's a lazy plot device. I think it was cool that it set up that, and then obviously then she starts having the paranoia of not believing Cotton when he's like, "It's not me, babe. It's not me," and then he has that terrible feeling when he finally gets in the room that he sees the killer coming up behind him. He's like, turn around, Connor, and it's too late, and she cops it in the back. But that's it. She screams, and she's pretty much dead. So
yeah, I mean, the only character who cares about her dies immediately after her, so she's just gone.
Having said that, I will say that she did have, like, at least she had a bit of a chase scene originally as well, and obviously the Ghostface or Roman at the time was stalking her and all that. So there is a decent lead up, which I think gives it a little bit more merit. But I mean, when it comes to her dying, it was pretty quick.
All right, sick. 37 done. Christine, you're off the block, kiddo. Michelle, you're looking very intently at your phone. I feel like you're plotting our downfall.
Charlie Walker, stabbed by Jill in Scream 4.
Okay.
I don't
The
know.
worst of the killers, and just I didn't care at all when he was.
What did you say?
The worst? Did you say
He's
the
the
worst
worst
of the
killer.
killers?
Yes.
He's the
Who
worst
is?
killer.
Charlie.
Oh, yeah, but that's not relative to him's death scene, though, is it?
Well, it is if you don't give a shit about it.
I guess the emotional impact and the story
Oh.
impact criteria that plays into it.
How much higher did you have
I
it?
guess if I think about it, like I'm just kind of bummed for him that he's just
I had this
cuck.
significant. Yeah, but I had it
He's just like-
significant.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I did have a lot.
I had it
higher.
a little bit higher, but not heaps. So I'm not gonna fight this. There's definitely deaths I think are worse.
No, but I just think there's this sadistic thing about Jill killing him, and he thinks he's doing this for her, and he's not knowing that she's really going to put the knife in, and it's this drawn out, long, and then he has that realization, like, oh, she's killing me. Like, this is not just I'm going to be a survivor, and I'm a bit like Stu, like I'm losing a lot of blood now here. And this
Yeah, I
has
do
gone
think it's
too
kind
far.
of fun that it's a replication of the Billy Stew,
Yeah.
but this time she's deliberately like murdering him, and he's too infatuated to see it. Yeah, look, no, I'm not gonna fight it.
Well, if
I'm
you
gonna
both don't
let it-
agree with me, that's fine. No one has to
There's
veto
other
it.
things. There's other things
Yeah,
you've said that I've disagreed with more, and I can't disagree with everything you say.
I don't
I
care.
won't use a veto, but if Cable uses a veto, I also won't be shocked. But I'm not going to fight it.
We've only got 2 vetoes, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there's a lot. I don't know why. I feel like some of mine that I've got really high are going to come up. And
Well, I can give you another one if you want to
Or-
pick between them.
No, you
Yeah.
can.
Well, yeah. Let's do that.
Well,
Let's.
they're both Scream 4 related, so
Oh well.
Oh.
Okay.
well,
Wow.
you've
That's
got
like Jill.
no. You can pick between Charlie or Trevor.
Oh, Travis is brutal too. Shit.
Does that have any emotional impact?
Oh,
You're shutting the balls, man.
It has a bit of an emotional impact when he gets shot in the dick. I actually
As a
had Charlie.
character,
I
does
had
anyone
Charlie and
feel-
Trevor back to back on my list, and I really could have put either one or the other, and I didn't have either of them much higher than where you're putting them. So
Yeah,
I'll let Cable pick. I don't care.
I'm happy.
about
I'd
either.
rather go with Trevor. Yeah, I had Trevor actually a lot lower on my list because you're like right. Michelle makes a good point. He's the kind of again the red herring, the creepy, cheating boyfriend. He deserves to get shot in the dick, and it's like I said. There's no emotional. I mean, it serves a story in that he's getting set up to be the killer. So I think storyline. See, that's the thing I've got to remember too. Like, I think some of these other killers we've taken off the board, a lot of these characters aren't super important to the storyline, or they're a bit inconsequential. But with Trevor, at least, there was a reason for him completely being framed for this. But I'm happy to let it go here. We'll let it go.
All right. So we're locking in Trevor.
Yep, Trevor Sheldon.
All right. Trevor Sheldon is 36. Bye-bye, Trevor. With, I mean, he's the only one I can think of to get shot in the D, so it certainly ticks a box there. All right, I'm up, and I'm going to pitch one that, again, Cable, what do you got?
Okay, I'm going to throw this out. I've had it low on my list for a long time, and the list has moved around. I think it's kind of cool because it's a little bit different. It's a little bit comedic, but it's still not super amazing. It's replicates something from Scream. This is from Scream 3. It kind of replicates a little bit something from Scream 2, but it's Tyson Fox getting flipped on the rug and then thrown off the thing. There's not... Again, I still feel like, unfortunately, they dumbed down this African-American character and made him a little bit of a character, and I don't know. It's a very quick... It's not... Even then, we see him get thrown. Do we even see him land? I think it's only we see the body later.
You hear him land.
We hear
hear
the
him
thud,
land.
and then it cuts to the body on the ground. So we see him get thrown off the balcony, and it stays on Ghostface, and then it thud, and then it cuts to him on the ground. See, I had this a little bit higher, and I put this on my list. I had a little bit higher only for the bit where he's getting chased, and he says, "Oh, you motherfucker!"
Yeah,
which I just love. I think it's delightful.
Yeah.
I have it a bit higher too, and for people being thrown off things, I have it higher than the other person that gets thrown off something.
No, you fucking didn't. There's
what?
two other people get thrown off, and if they're lower than Tyson, you're kidding me, right?
True. Who's the other one?
We can't
Cece
say.
and Rebecca.
Oh, I've got it higher than Rebecca.
Wow.
Only one higher, but it's still higher.
Wow. No, I had Tyson quite a bit higher than Rebecca.
Oh, really? Wow. That's
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to go back. I'm going back to Scream 3. I'm going to give you Stephen Stone.
Angry!
Yeah, this is what I was going to say before when I was about to have my go. When it wasn't my go, I'm surprised he didn't come up sooner. Absolutely, Stephen Stone.
I think the reason I probably didn't have it as low as some of the others, I think it should be probably as low, if not one of the worst. But I think the fact that there is a call and he gets upset when he mentions the sister, and there's kind of that moment there. And yeah, anyway, I think it's, again, quick one and done, and the payoff is more him stumbling to the door, like looking at his phone and all that.
Yeah, and then collapsing.
Apart from that, again, he was an arsehole kind of character that he was kind of picking on our favourite Dewey. So who likes Steve Stone? Like, fuck him.
I have zero complaints. I'm happy with that one being there.
Michelle?
Michelle, any arguments?
No, it was higher, but it doesn't matter.
All right, 35, Stephen Stone, in you go. All right, now it actually is my... Oh, okay. This one is another one that just like, who gives a crap? I'm pitching Vince Schneider from Scream 5. who just means nothing, does nothing, gets stabbed in a car
yeah.
park, and then we're meant to care.
I feel like it means
Yeah.
nothing, but I like his the red right hand, lead up to his death. I've got that a bit higher on my list.
I've actually got I think I've got it quite a bit higher, but it does probably contradict a lot of what I've said about some of the other kills.
Oh boy! All right, I mean, if we
No, I'll just say why I've got it higher, and similar to what Michelle said, I think the problem is he's set up as this red herring, the bad boy. There was a deleted scene, obviously, with him and Dewey that sort of have an issue, and then obviously then in the bar he's the supposed tough guy, and then he's having to piss, and obviously this song's on and the car's going, and there's something about the kill, and I've said about the quick kills that I'm like, but the fact is it's the quick puncher to the jugular. Is there something amazing about that? Like just quick, short, sharp that I like, and I probably have it high, but again, that flies in the face with a lot of our other criteria, I guess. Like you're saying, they set up, they pay homage to the other movies by having Red Right Hand and all that, but I don't think there's any shock value because I feel like too much of that was telegraphed in the trailer as well.
yeah, well, that's probably part of the impact.
Yeah, I think we knew.
I was like, oh, here's the scene where that guy dies.
And I think the problem is they sort of set him sort of up as a possible red herring early on, but he dies so quickly, and then there is the sort of throwaway line of him being related to Stu. But then that's a bit like the red herring plot of Scream 2 never really plays out. It's just it's the copycat killers, I should say, is just the red herring they set up for a little bit and then just disappears. So. Look, I'm not going to fight it unless Michelle really has it a lot higher. I actually had it fairly high, but
I have it higher,
you're
but I'm not.
You're the decider, Michelle.
Yeah, I have it higher, but I'm not going to fight you about it.
Oh, all right, then in he goes. Vinny Schneider, 34. Is that what we're up to already? It is 34. Vinny Schneider,
which is really interesting because I feel like if he had a significant part in the movie and that was his kill scene, say like 2/3 of the way through, that would have been a lot more impactful and probably rated a bit higher.
Well, when I was thinking about it, that's what put it low is there's no story impact, there's no emotional impact, there's a little bit of shock value, there's not a ton of original. Like it didn't tick a lot of boxes for me. All right, so we're back to Michelle with pick 33.
Well, I guess it would have to be Tyson in Scream 3.
Tyson, you get no respect, but I guess it's kind of this. We're starting to get into a category for me with deaths now where it's like 6 to 1, half a dozen the other. Some I think are better than others, but when you look at the criteria and you start to make the arguments, they all kind of fit into the same area for me. So I wish he got a little bit more love, but I won't fight it. I'll wear that. That's fine.
And I think that's. When you think about the criteria, unfortunately, there's Scream 3 and probably you could argue maybe Scream 4, even Scream 5 to a point. Like there's a lot of characters and unfortunately there's not a lot. They can't totally character develop all the characters because there's so many of them that some of them just don't have emotional connection. Whereas definitely the first movie, there's a lot more connection to the characters. So the impact's always going to be a little bit higher and probably even Scream 2 a little bit as well. But...
all right, Tyson, Elfida, Zane, Cable, who you got next?
I'm going to Scream 4. I put up the other part of this kill, and the second part of the kill is the opening, Jenny Randall. In the garage door, which is sort of a little bit of a play on Tatum's death, apart from her, more the door coming down on her. Again, I feel like it's one of the weaker openings of the Scream franchise. And it's a good little chase and whatever, but I feel like she gets done pretty easily.
Yeah. Yeah, again, this is one I had higher, but when you make those points, I can't really argue for it to be taken off in this round. So I'm pretty happy with that there. What do you think, Michelle?
I had it higher as well. Yeah.
Do you want to fight it? You can fight it.
I don't know. I just like the homage to like Tatum's death, which we've talked about before, but I'm not going to veto it. So,
all right, I'll give you another. All right, I'll play fair. I'll play the game. So you're both not fans of that one. What's next on my list? All right, this one might be controversial. I'll see if you take nibble on this. Scream 3. Now, admittedly, I think the originality or just the way it's all set up is brilliant. But I think the actual kill itself is pretty lame. Unfortunately, we've discussed this in the Scream 3 episode where, unfortunately, because of Columbine, like a lot of the violence, the blood was toned back a lot. And I think this death is, like I said, fairly lame finish to the death. I think some of the chase elements are good and the setup, but I'm going to say Sarah Darling because we have no emotional connection to this person whatsoever.
No, I have this way higher on my list.
Yeah, I'll take Jenny Randall
Yeah,
over
you
that
can
any
take
day
Jenny.
of the
Yeah,
week.
Good.
agreed.
Oh, good. See, that worked then, didn't it?
Yeah, no, Jenny's is way worse than that. Bye, Jenny. My God, that's getting into crazy talk with that up that early. All right, now it starts to get a little stickier. We've chatted around it. I don't know how well it's gonna go down, but it didn't do it for me. I'm gonna pitch Rebecca Walters, Scream 4.
Done.
Really?
I can't see Cable, but okay. Yeah, I mean, what? Think about the actual death. What happens? She runs around a car park and then gets thrown off a roof, and no one really is that bothered, including Sydney, who is the one who should be like, "Oh my God, my publicist just got murdered," but she's like, "Oh."
I don't know. I feel like the lead up to that and the whole thing with the car and the keys, and then when he comes, just the running at her so fast, the camera just coming, and just a stab straight in the guts because she can't get through the door. I mean, I'm not talking about I'm pretty sure she's dead by the time she's thrown off the balcony. Anyway, I don't think that's killed her. I think she's already probably dead. So I just think there's such a setup of a scene and such a good.
Okay.
And, I mean, that was reshot as well. So
I'm happy to pitch another one. If you feel strongly about it.
Well, I do.
There's no
I
issue
kind
there.
of do. I feel like that's
All right.
again that meets a lot more of the criteria than some other ones that we're talking about. That's a whole scene, but you
All
don't.
right, I'm
going to
pitch one then, and I want you to remember what we're talking about is the deaths. This is the category. It's the deaths. It's not what happens afterwards. It's the deaths. I pitch Kenny the cameraman from Scream. Because the bit where he's like the blood comes down, that's cool, but he's already dead. That's not part of it. We see him die.
Yeah,
he gets his throat slit and he's dead. That's
no, I would never count that part with him being on the roof. That's a good surprise element to it, added to it, but I would never really.
I've got him way higher than Rebecca.
Yeah, same here. Oh, maybe not. Let me have a look at my list.
He saves Sydney before he dies.
Yeah, it's sad, but
what number are we up to now?
This is we are currently pitching for 31.
31. Yeah, I could probably live with it here. I think for that element though, Michelle hit the nail on the head. He kind of almost sacrifices himself for Sydney. He goes to save Randy, and that's his mistake, forgetting about the time delay. I kind of like that again, that shock of just going, oh shit, the camera, and it's too late. And that just plays with our mind, or as an audience as well. I think that's really cool. I reckon that's I don't know. I think that's a really good element to it. The 8-second delay, because we think Randy's about to get stabbed, and then I don't know. I'm pretty sure the version we see is Kenny. That Kenny's death is cut back a couple of frames too. We don't see him. I'm just thinking what they had to. I remember Patrick saying they took it out, and I remember reading it. I think in the standard version, his throat gets cut, and they had him look down and realize. They had to take him looking down out. But I've got the Swedish version, which has it in.
Oh.
Because they had an issue not with his throat getting slashed, but the more that he realizes it's slashed and he looks down, kind of thing. Anyway, that's a whole other.
That is pretty messed up. Someone realized that their throat is cut and they're bleeding out.
I'm happy with Kenny. You can take Kenny if you really want. I just thought there's more story elements around that. And I think it's cool because I don't think we've seen the delayed camera of someone getting out and go, oh shit, no, actually there's a delay, and them dying, and then kind of being at least honourable and
so then how is
heroic.
Rebecca's death better than that?
I did pitch her. Did I pitch her first?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, but I'd rather Kenny's lower on my list.
And it's Kenny or Rebecca. you pick Kenny Cable.
Yeah. Who killed
You
Kenny?
pick Rebecca.
Mhm.
Then I reckon the tiebreaker comes back to me, or one of you has to use a veto.
Well, you
'Cause
picked
otherwise I
Rebecca
don't know how we
first,
fix
so
this.
then I feel like Cable's got to use the veto if that's the case.
And trying to push this forward, I'm gonna just say my final answer is Rebecca Walters, and if you want a veto, you can veto.
I got way higher than that, so I'm going to veto it.
Okay, then it's Kenny.
Done.
All right. So Cable has used one veto. First veto off the board. Kenny off the board. Kenny is our first gone from Scream too. From Scream 1.
Which I would still argue there's a worse kill in Scream 1, but that's a whole other ballpark.
All right. So Kenny is 31. I feel like it's only going to get harder from here, friends. I feel like we're gonna be wilder and angrier. And Michelle, let's throw blood to the wolves. What have you got?
I'm going back to Robbie from Scream 4.
You can't, there's rules. I'm gay. I'm gay. I mean, if it helps.
Oh wow, Robbie again. Okay.
Yeah, I can do Robbie. I'll do Robbie.
Yeah, I can live with that. I can live with Robbie here. I can accept and move through it.
There's a kill on here. I so thought it was almost, if it wasn't Dewey, it was going to be your next one, Angus, your worst one, and we haven't even talked about it. Yeah, I don't know.
Very interested to see. There's actually, I don't know if, see this, we'll have to find at the end. I have one that was low on my list that I've after listening to both of your arguments about why you've picked things, where you've picked things, I've moved this particular death up a little bit, and I wonder if maybe that was it, because I don't think it's that good, but you guys are making good arguments, and I'm trying to.
Oh, it's good. We came here to make good arguments.
Trying to see
We didn't roll. We weren't going to roll over and die and let you dictate the list again.
I mean, what have you got for 29, Cable?
Oh, it's my turn. Okay. I hope this isn't controversial, but again, this is a quick death. Scream 4.
Oh.
I think, sadly, we're supposed to like this character enough, but I don't know if there's enough, apart from her being a relative.
Who are you going to say?
There's a shock value of it, but I think Kate Roberts copying it through the letterbox is very quick. It's somewhat original, but it's very quickly dealt with, and we don't really come back to it, or can't,
Look, I didn't have this much higher. I did have it higher purely for the originality factor. I do think it's a pretty fun way that they get her. I think it's brutal for. I think you're right. I think we were supposed to like her a bit more. I think it's pretty brutal for Sydney to watch her mother's sister get murdered in front of her after living with the pain of her mother being murdered. And she's trying so hard to protect her family in this one, and like we've talked about in the podcast before, family is such an integral part of the first 4 Scream films, because it's all about family. Everything's about how it ties back to Sydney and her family. So for her to lose a family member right in front of her, that's the first time that happens, except for killing her half brother, who she didn't know was her half brother until about 10 minutes before. A family member she has an emotional connection to. That's the first time that they die in front of her.
Well, it kind of only really depends on Michelle, because if you don't have that much higher, I don't know why you'd fight it. No,
because I think the ones I have beneath it are significantly worse. Like the Kate Roberts death starts to get into where I think it gets really tricky, because they're all good, and what's left on my list is the stuff I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's pretty meh, and I struggle to see it put below stuff that I think is genuinely not very creative and just kind of all right. What do you think, Michelle? Where are you at with this one?
I think I agree with you. I've got it higher too. Just feel like it's originality. So.
Well, I thought that was my only losing case in putting it up, is the originality, that you think, well, they've got the door closed, they've really fought hard against Ghostface, they've got the door shut, and then Sydney gets up to run away and she's copped it in the neck through the letterbox.
And it's her own daughter. Like, her own daughter does it to her. That's messed up. Yeah, I think you got to pick again.
Okay. All right, this one could be another controversial one. It's a killer.
Okay.
And I just think there's a little bit of a lead up to it, but in the scheme of things, it's pretty much 2 bullet wounds, and it's Debbie Salt. I think
Oh.
I think there's the deal, there's the emotional factor of the build up with I almost said Roman Cotton not knowing what he's going to do, or at least you as an audience not sure where he's going to go. Deb's going to promise him the world, but can't really because she's not really a reporter. And then she's like, "Yeah, I'll do the Diane Sawyer interview," and then he shoots her, and then she's down. Did he get her in the neck or the shoulder? I can't even remember now. And I should know that stuff. But then it was like, "Oh, let's make sure she's dead," and Sydney just puts a bullet in her head. I'm like, kind of like, it's just. Yeah, they've had a tussle beforehand, but
yeah.
I don't. I think when it comes simply to, yes, they had a bit of a fight. There was a lot of chasing and that, but when it comes, once Cotton's got the gun and is in control, I don't know. It's just like, it's very easy to
gunfight
be
at the end of the day.
Well, it's just Cotton making the decision and then Sydney going, "Okay, I'm going to make sure she's dead for real," and puts it in her head. I don't think there's that much more to it, but I'm again happy to sort of.
No, I'm looking at my list. I had this below Kate Roberts, so I prefer this over Kate Roberts here. I'm not going to fight this.
Michelle,
you make a good case.
Well, I've got it higher than Liv that you pitched earlier. So.
Oh, well then you might have to veto.
Oh no, I don't care that much.
You are. I feel like the top of your list is really going to be different for ours, and you're saving up those vetoes for something catastrophic. All right, then Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother, hits the bricks at 29. Welcome to the 20s, Mrs. Loomis. All right, you're gone. And that's another killer gone as well. And I am going to... I'm going to choose violence. And I'm going to pitch one that I feel like will be disagreed with, but I have my reasons. I'm going to pitch Derek Feldman.
You are dead!
And I'll tell you why.
Mm-hmm.
The emotional impact is high. I will absolutely concede that. And the fact that she wears a necklace forever and it is a carry-on thing. He's one of the few characters who dies that ever gets referenced in another Scream film. Not that he's ever spoken of, but she has the necklace and it's like, oh, that was his letters. But his actual death, the best part of Derek's death happens before he dies. It's all when his brothers kidnap him and take him back and then tie him to the crossing. Like, what the hell's going on? And then it's a party and they're making him drink and he's saying how much he loves Sydney. And when I watch it again, like I know when Mickey and Derek are having the standoff and he's like, boyfriend killer. And like, oh my God, is Derek, when I watch it again, I'm like, no, they completely throw that away because when all those people are there getting him drunk, I believe him when he's like, who do you love? Do you love your brothers? And he's like, no, I love Sydney. I'm like, yeah, I believe you. I believe you, Jerry O'Connell. I think you genuinely love her. And I don't think you're a killer anymore. And that red herring storyline for me is gone. So when he's tied up and Mickey's messing with him, it's like, oh yeah, there's some emotional impact here, but it's not original.
But isn't he messing with
surprising?
Sydney?
Yeah, like it doesn't have any surprise factor. It doesn't have any cool factor. It doesn't have an originality. He just gets shot and then dies, and it's sad, but it's not a great kill. It's just a bit of a sad.
History repeats itself.
Yeah, and when I watched it again the other day, I was like, all of the best parts of this kill are Mickey, not Derek dying. Like his actual death is just a gunshot wound, and he slowly dies. So that's why I put. I know
what number are we at?
Death,
what number?
That's 28 is what I'm pitching it for.
Michelle,
you look deep in thought.
I'm just checking my list. I had it higher, but yeah, that's fine.
How much higher? Because I didn't have it significant higher, but I feel like I've got that middle bracket that's kind of, they can all meld into one a little bit. Like I'm not super fussed. They can slide up and down a few spots. It's not top 10.
Well, I had it a lot higher, but all of mine have been shut down. So yeah, I don't. Angus makes good points. No, you can have it.
Time to fight.
No, I don't care that much to fight about it.
Poor Derek.
I'm happy. Have you got another? What's your next sort of? If me and Michelle
I've got another one, but we've been down this road before a couple of times, and I think you know what it's going to be.
Rebecca.
Yes, take that one. Derek's death is way sadder than her death. You can't argue that.
But it's not. That's emotional value is one category, one criteria. You can't just say like, yeah, you can throw that throw that out about Rebecca. I get it, but the lead up to it is, I don't know. I like the chase scene. I like the suspense. I like the can't get in the car because you dropped the keys and all that sort of stuff. Like that's a good element. What Scream brings, is in the Scream franchise, which sadly we haven't had any really good chase scenes for 2 movies. So, apart from that, that's almost the sole chase scene in the last 2 movies when you think about it.
I know you're right. Yeah. All right. So, Derek.
I'm taking for all the moments you say. I did have it higher, but I do feel like that was one that I was like, I think I rated more high because of the emotional content of it and the fact that he gets shafted by his so-called friend, but also the poor guy died almost because Sydney got paranoid about it and thought history was repeating itself.
But also, like, he has no way to, like, he's not escaping. He's tied to a cross hanging from the roof.
And
like, whether Sydney believes him or not, Mickey was going to. There's literally nothing the guy can do. It's not. There's no tension because it's like, yeah, he's tied up. He's fucked. The kind of guy you would love to take home to mum if you had a mum. All right, Michelle, it is back to you. We are pitching for 27. We're getting to the pointy end.
From Scream, Principal Himbry.
Oh, what? I am looking at my list. And I cannot let that stand.
Okay, next.
Yeah, I've got Himbry a lot higher.
I mean,
to be honest, it's interesting because I actually thought sometimes when you do a list, you just wonder, what are the other two thinking? I actually thought Michelle would actually have Himbry up really high. So clearly I was wrong.
What about friend of the show, Lee, who was going to be listening to this and horrified that you would put his work so low?
Well, you've already taken one of his kills off the list a long time ago.
Which one?
He slits the guy in the throat. Yeah, and Hallie, you've taken 2 kills off.
Oh, well, they were very quick. We're not talking about sequels, they suck. Yeah.
Scream 2, Phil. He literally gets stabbed in the ear.
Bill Stevens?
No. Yeah, he gets stabbed in the ear through like thick whatever. It's not even realistic as a kill. All right, never mind. Moving on. Oh my god. Steve from Scream?
Yes.
Stephen Orth?
Yes, you don't even see him get gutted.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with that. I'm glad.
It's almost like someone pulled
that
a
was my
string and
next.
his guts just like fall out.
What? Are you serious? You both had that really low?
Yeah.
No, it's not really low.
That really
it's
low.
really high. I can go back to Scream 4 if you want.
It's like that is the first kill in the Scream
Yeah, but
series.
It
sets up how brutal and horrific this movie and moving forward this series is going to be, and it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I get that.
Horrific.
Yeah, I get that, but there's no emotional value because we don't know who this guy is. It adds to the Casey
But we get
stuff,
the emotional value from Casey.
Yeah,
seeing her boyfriend's guts hanging out.
But it's a bit. Wow. We see it on screen, but not really. Like it's kind of. Again, I'm like
we hear it.
Well, to be fair, that's way higher on my list, but you guys have said no to everything else. So I would go back to Charlie in Scream 4.
Shoulder me! Shoulder me! Shoulder me! Get it up!
Oh yeah, take
Charlie over Steve.
Yeah, take Charlie.
In a heartbeat, Charlie can hit the bricks.
Cheer
Charlie
up,
Walker
Charlie.
is out. That's another killer gone. K Bull.
I'm going to bring up Deputy Perkins again.
What?
Yeah.
What?
I think he's gone a bit. He's gone a bit higher, and I had him in this exact spot. I had him at 26, and we are at 26.
The fuck Bruce Willis thing kills it every time. Maybe if he just died, it would have been okay.
So good.
No, it's so fucking stupid.
It's so good.
I think it's inventive in that he gets stabbed right in the head, and research has shown people can get significant injuries in that part and still sort of operate and bleeds out. But apart from that, it's kind of.
Do you really think that's a worse death than Rebecca Walters?
But it's so quick. Like again, this is where it's subjective. I like a good build up, a suspense, and there's no. It's just slice and dice, motherfucker. Like that's.
But I mean, there's so many other deaths that are worse than that in the series. Like, that's a memorable death. If someone has seen the Scream movies once, you're like,
Well, where did you put it,
the
Michelle?
copy gets stopped and
I don't
stabbed in
know.
the
My
head.
list has been completely redone, but I would say that Kate Roberts' death is probably worse. Lower
Yes,
down on the
I would
list.
agree with that.
Oh, is she still on the list?
Yep.
Well, then I'll put Kate Roberts up then.
Yeah, I'll take Kate Roberts before
Right.
I take Anthony
No, but
Perkins. All right, I am officially vetoing Anthony Perkins at 26. My next pitch at 25, from the major motion picture Scream, I pitch Billy Loomis.
I had Billy at 25.
Yeah,
So I can take it. Yeah.
Billy Loomis's, he's like, again, it's a similar to the Derek problem. The best part of Billy Loomis's death is when he fakes his death. That's where you get all of the payoff. When he actually dies, his death is he just gets shot in the head. He goes bah, and then gets shot in the head. Like, it's not the best death in the movie. It's not even the best death of the killers in the movie. It's not even the best death that happens in that house. Like, it's just meh.
No arguments for me. I got a 25.
Oh wow. Oh my God. I really didn't think that was going to go in there, but
I know. I agree with the same thing. I think with the killers, it's hard because we do kind of, as their killers, and because you think of all the stuff that they do during the movie, you put them on a pedestal. But the problem is, at the end of the day, a lot of them are like, there might be a little bit of a fight, but generally a bullet to the head is how they die.
Well, you say that, but they learn their lesson, and there are some pretty fun killer deaths, which is another reason I put this one further than list, because I'm like, there are so many more fun ways.
But that's kind of why I had Debbie Salt or Nancy Loomis, if you want to call it that.
Yeah,
it's the same sort of death scene she has as her son, pretty much. She's on the ground. She doesn't wake up, but it's like, no, we'll just for safety put a bullet through her head, you know.
All right, Billy, down 24. Michelle, what do you got for us?
Can I go back to Cotton?
You can.
Yes.
It's risky.
You're gonna make me sad. You can. I forget why did you put Cotton this low down? What's your argument for Cotton's death here?
Well, he doesn't have a super dramatic death either. Doesn't he just get stabbed once?
I mean, well, he does, but for me, the thing that makes it an interesting death is that, especially when I first saw it, it was genuinely not expected, because he was a returning character. He'd been in the first two movies. I didn't think they were going to kill off a guy who was on the poster in the opening credits. I thought that was part of the shock and what worked well. And I think in that movie, it's one of the best deaths, because I really didn't like everyone else who dies. It's like, well, yeah, if it's not one of the big three, you're kind of like, well, you're here to die. That's what you're here for at this point. We're in the third film of a slasher franchise. You need a body count. But Cotton Weir in the opening credits, I thought he would be the trigger point. Like, he'd be attacked, his girlfriend be killed, and then he'd seek out the others and be like, it's happening again. They attacked me. I didn't think he would get killed. I was like, what? Did you just kill Cotton Weary before the credits? So that one, and it still has an impact for me every time I watch it. I'm like, yeah, I really didn't think they would kill him off. So that's why I rate it higher. And I think it's cool. And it made me sad. I like Cotton Weary. He came so far. I mean, he's an asshole, but you know, he comes by it honestly. He tries. What do you think, Cable? Are you gonna be on board with this? Or are you gonna?
Oh yeah, no, I've got Cotton Weary a lot higher than this.
All right, then I'm afraid you have to go back to the list, Michelle.
Amber?
Fuck you.
Yeah, no argument. No argument from me.
No, not from me either. I had her at 27.
It's a cool death. But it's just kind of like, that's how they did that one. That's a bit different.
Yeah.
Okay.
Set her on fire.
Like this. Yeah. There's nothing super amazing. So yeah, and it's the next one that I had on my list. So
same here.
Well,
I had her at 27. So
yeah. All right. So 24. Good night, Amber. Another killer off the list for us.
I almost forgot she was a killer.
And that brings us to pretty much smack bang in the middle of the list. So I think it's a good idea to have a quick little recap here of where we're at with who we've lost for those of us playing at home. So knocking him off from the bottom of the list so far. First, we lost Angela Tyler from Scream 3. Then we lost Marnie Cooper, Scream 4. Dewey Riley, Scream 5, robbed. John Milton, Scream 3. Officer Andrews, Scream 2. Roman Bridger, Scream 3. Our first killer to get taken off the list. Deputy Hoss, Scream 4. Hallie McDaniel, Scream 2. Christine Hamilton, Scream 3. Trevor Sheldon, Scream 4. Stephen Stone, Scream 3. Vince Schneider, Scream 5. Tyson Fox, Scream 3. Jenny Randall, Scream 4. Kenny Brown, Scream 1. Our first from the original to get knocked out. Robbie Mercer, Scream 4. Mrs. Loomis, Billy's mother, Scream 2. Our next killer, Derek Feldman, Scream 2. Charlie Walker, Scream 4. Another killer. Kate Roberts, Scream 4. Billy Loomis, Scream 1. A killer. And Amber Freeman, Scream 5. A killer. We have lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of our 7 killers so far. We are halfway through the list. So getting into the very, very tricky part of things now. Cable, tough decisions to be made. Who have you got?
I'm going to put up Liv McKenzie again.
I'm not the fucking killer!
I know. Welcome to Act 3.
Because I think this has got a lot higher than I was expecting. I had her obviously very low, put her up in the 40s, or I think in the close to the 40s, I think, or maybe even the late 30s. But again, I come back to the point of I don't think, while there's the quick, what the fuck just happened there, shock value of Amber revealing herself as a killer, again, out of uniform, and taking the red herring off the board and blowing her brains out. I don't know, because I could be wrong, but I don't feel like a lot of people really love Liv as a character either. So it was kind of like no emotional core. Again, it was different. If she had done that to Gail or something, you go, oh, wow, that just was so unexpected.
Or Dewey. That would have been the perfect part to do that to Dewey. Like, if that's how they killed Dewey, if he thought he was safe and he was surrounded by them, and then she shot him in the head in front of everyone, oh my God, that would have been one of the best kills in the series, because he had no way to defend. It would have been really, really shocking. And we went, oh my fucking God, what's happening? Pure chaos for the third act. But yeah, the fact that it's Liv, a character we don't really get to know that well. Yeah, this is actually exactly where I had Liv on my list, and I think it's probably where it belongs. So you're not going to get any argument from me, Michelle. How do you vibe on this?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
All right, down you go, Liv. You're a fighter. You stuck it out longer than people thought you would. Good on you.
She didn't even get any loving either. Poor girl.
Poor girl. All right, I am going to continue to keep an embargo on the 2 that I really cannot believe are still on the list, but you guys have your opinion, and I'm going to pitch the next one up on my list. Wes Hicks, Scream 5. Like it's a good. I think we're in the part of the list now where we're no longer talking about bad ones; we're talking about good ones. But like, how good is it in the canon of deaths? It's fun, the flipping of like, oh, instead of the girl being stalked, it's the guy, and the way he gets killed when his mum's right outside is a bit brutal. But
I think there's other deaths that are worse though.
I mean, agree, but you won't let me put them on the list.
Well, give me what do you think, Michelle?
Oh, I've got it higher as well. For all the reasons you're saying that it's bad, for the reasons I think it's good. So.
Okay. I don't think it's bad. I think like what's left on my list bar a couple, I no longer think are bad. I just think they're not the best. And that's sort of where I am at this point in the list, is like, well, okay, when I'm looking out who else is here, there's some all-timers that are coming up now that I think push this down. But if I'm happy to pick again. I'm gonna say Richie again.
What about my ending?
Here it comes.
What do you think,
We're
Michelle?
almost in the top 20 kills out of 45.
I've got Richie higher than Wes, but only by 1, so I'm right.
Oh, you're not going to fight Richie?
No.
I've got Richie lower than Wes. I'll live with it here. If this is
my next pitch will be Rebecca Walters if you knock this back.
I think Richie's death is more brutal, like when you're talking about blood and everything. But I think Wes is more brutal in the sense that, he's like so close to opening the door and either freedom or finding his mother, and that just doesn't happen. So I would rather Richie in this spot.
Yeah, I'll take Richie.
All right, Richie Rich, the little bitch, off he goes. Another killer down. Hot diggity dog. All right, who's going to be 21, Michelle?
It's got to be Rebecca.
No argument here. that's a deep pain that Cable's experiencing right now.
I'm just looking at this list and I'm like, there's so many good kills I got up near the top in this middle thing, and I still feel like there's other kills less than that.
Are there kills that are so much worse than that you are willing to use your last veto to save Rebecca?
Probably not, but I just think it's fucking dumb. But anyway, all right, let's lock it in.
All right, there she goes. 21. 21 is pretty noble. She's not a big timer in terms of characters.
I think that's the problem. Like, I mean, that's probably how you're rating it as well. Is like the problem is she's the bitch character.
Yeah, I mean,
the money hungry. So it's like, well, you
knocked
don't.
it down is story and emotional impact. It doesn't really hit either of those that hard for me personally.
But I think my argument would be that, again, it's the good suspense scene, and then you think, oh, she's going to get away, and then obviously at the last second she can't get through the door, and the ghost face, just the edit they use of the ghost face coming really close and just driving a knife straight in, and then the fact is she's, like I said, like, we don't know for a fact if she's dead at that point. I think she's probably dead, but it's good they're doing the press conference. Dewey and that are trying to play down this whole, copycat / it's happening again thing. And then Ghostface goes, you know what? We're doing this again, and throws the body to make sure it hits the thing. And so, of course, that sets off everything happening. And I think from a story point of view, it works as well. It's not just like a throwaway kill. It serves a story. So that's why I sort of think there's a few kills in here that are not. But again, we're probably splitting hairs. Splitting buck knives at this point.
I mean, that's the problem when we get to this part of the list is like what I'm looking at that's left on the list. Every one of them, when I think about with the exception of maybe one, every one of them when I look at them, I'm like, oh, that was good. That was good when they did that. That was brutal. That was cool, and I can remember it quite vividly. All right, R.I.P. Rebecca Walters. Cable, who is your pitch then for number 20? And congratulations to all our remaining deaths. Your top 20 is that's honorable. You're all in the honorable category now. Who's going to kick us off?
Okay, I'm going to throw this out here because my initial thought before I thought Dewey was your worst kill of the thing, because you were so passionate. Me and Michelle were debating what your worst kill of the franchise was. And this was the other one. I'm like, oh, could it be this? And it's from Scream 3. And it kind of, while I think the lead up is kind of cool and I guess what happens is kind of cool and triggers off a few other things happening. But in the scheme of things, is the most illogical death in the franchise history, when there's no power but a fax machine works and there's gas on and no one can smell it until someone lights a fuse, is Tom Prince's death. And you're shaking your head, and that's fine. I'm just trying to work out where this fits in the scheme of things, because I think it serves the story in moving it along, but there's so many implausibilities about the scene that I think devalues it for me, that I'm surprised it hasn't get mentioned yet. I think it's good. The originality is amazing because they haven't done it like that before, but I think Ghostface not being there is a big issue, or at least there's a lot of coincidences or a lot of things that have to happen for him to be in a position to even attack them at the bottom of the fucking hill. Like, it's so convoluted that I just think it's very unscream-like to me. It's like, are we watching Lethal Weapon or Scream? Like, I don't know. I'm surprised it's actually got this high. I can't believe this is the first time it's got mentioned. And I really thought, to be honest, before I even thought about Dewey, I said to Michelle, do you think his worst kill is the gas and the gas explosion and the fax machine? Because we've kind of joked at how ridiculous it is on the podcast, and it does feel very unscreen-like. And the only thing it wins on points is originality, because no one gives a shit about Tom Prince either, because he's a fucking asshole.
Yeah, look, and a lot of what you're saying I can't really argue with, but the fact that it is so ridiculous, the fact that it is so original, it is hands down one of the most memorable deaths in the Scream franchise, not because of who he is, but because how he goes. And it is, I mean, I think creativity, hats off, absurdity, hats off. When you are also dealing with a slasher movie where the studio's been like, this can't be scary or have blood because media. And obviously they've gone back and been like, what the fuck do we do? How do we kill these fucking people when we can't like stab murder them? Like we're supposed, like the series is literally called Stab in universe. What do we do? I imagine somebody was like, let's blow some motherfuckers up. And not only did it get past pitch phase, it got all the way into the movie. And I've always known it was dumb, but I've never not loved it because it is just ridiculous. And I think it's used just enough. Like if everyone in this movie was killed in an increasingly ridiculous way that didn't involve a knife or a gun, I'd be like, fuck this. But they, once in 5 films, they really shot for the moon. And I can't begrudge them that. Michelle, what do you think about Tom Prince Scream 3 going here?
Well, that was the one that was like at the bottom of my list and then it moved back up. And the thing that bugs me is like that's the only death in the whole thing where Ghostface is not on the scene. But like I understand what you're saying. So it's higher on my list than others that are still on this list.
Are you gonna be on board or are you gonna reject it?
Well, can I just say before Michelle answers that, for full transparency, we didn't share a list apart from in the last 24 hours or so, we were discussing the pressure that was on Michelle about what's the worst death. That was a discussion. We kind of discussed that. And I did say to her, just without thinking about the Scream franchise, I had it dead last before I started the list. Like in my head, it was like, this is dead last because it's so stupid. It's very unscreen like. I didn't like it because I feel like there's too many coincidences that Ghostface needs to rely on to happen. There's supposedly the power's out, but then the fax machine works. What is it on a backed up generator? I don't know. There's a lot of things that actually don't work for it, apart from it being this epic blow up and they all fly off the balcony and tumble down the hill. I had it dead last, and then once I started doing my list, I'm like, oh no, it's kind of fun. It's different because it hits that unique point. It's pretty epic. So it did shift up my list. Same thing with Michelle. Michelle said I had it almost dead last, and it shifted up in my equation too. But seriously, how high can you
really
have
think like Wes's death is better than this?
I think it's more
like
emotional.
Another teen gets stabbed in their house. Like how many times have we already seen that on this list? How many times are we going to still see it on this list?
I think the brutality of Wes and the fact that his mum's just died and he doesn't know that. And that the legend has it that those scenes were actually flipped because a lot of what happens to Wes doesn't really make a lot of sense if Judy's already been killed. And that's a whole other conversation. But I think there's a bit more emotional value that his mum's just died. She's raced back to try and save him and he still fucking dies. I know. I feel like that for me, I felt more of an emotional attachment to that than fucking Tom Prince, who's a womanizer, who's, sleeping around Hollywood and thinks he's fucking shit don't stink. And then he blows up in a gas explosion and no one can say, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Oh, look, I think we're like 50-50ing it here because I think you're right. I think Wes has more emotional impact. I think Tom has more originality and more story impact because his death actually propels something happening next. Wes's death propels nothing because, like you said, his mum's already dead. Like, there's no one to find his body and be like, like the parents finding Casey Becker. It's the cops who find Judy and Wes, and they, obviously are sad about it, but they're not. You lose some stuff there, in my opinion. Look, what do you think, Michelle? Are you going to go with it or are you going to fight it?
I had Wes higher, but I agree with what you said. Like, I think Tom's is more original. So, like, I will agree with you. So I reckon Cable needs to pick again.
Right. Oh, so you're knocking back Tom Prince?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can I just argue this point just a little bit further because we got
absolutely
several criteria. We've got several criteria, and originality is a big one, of course. But then there's originality, but it's the setup is just wrong. Like it's so implausible what actually happens. That it's original because there's an explosion, but like the fax machine, they have a blackout, so the power's out, yet a fax machine somehow works. Then how is
doesn't that actually happen though? I'm sure our power used to go out and our phone line still used to work.
Because the fax machine's connected to the phone line.
Yeah, not everything goes out when the power goes out.
So that's like this. Yeah, this is the 90s, bro.
Yeah, no, I think that still goes out because it's a different power thing. Trust me, but I'm happy to stand corrected. Even if the phone line still works on it, it's still. Remember we joked about it. It's like where is Ghostface faxing from the other side? Like where is he faxing? Like it's fucking dumb. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I give it
what it
all.
does
I
more
will-
than anything is it undoes the one killer idea. It shows that at many points in Scream 3, there was two killers, and then they decided
Yeah,
later on
and I
because there
feel
has
like
to be two killers for the fax thing to happen.
Anyway, look, I'll put something else up, but what I'm trying to say is I think it absolutely hits originality out of the ballpark for Scream. But I feel like that shouldn't say, like, using Wes as the backup argument, it shouldn't denigrate that because I think that hits more of the criteria
Well,
than Tom
I'll
Prince.
reread the criteria
Yeah.
so that the listeners can remember what it is we're debating here. So the criteria are inventiveness,
Yeah.
surprise or shock factor, emotional impact, story impact, looked amazing or gory, and originality. So I think if specifically for this case, just as an example, we're using Wes and Tom, inventiveness, I've never seen anyone else be killed by a fax machine in my life. Surprise or shock factor, I did not expect someone to get killed by a fax machine. Emotional impact, that goes to Wes without a doubt. Story impact, you could kind of split it a bit, but I do think immediate story impact goes to Tom because it literally propels the characters forward into the next scene. Looked amazing. I think the house blowing up from the fax machine looks better than Wes getting stabbed. Originality, again, show me another movie where someone gets killed by a fax machine. So I think if we're talking about the criteria, that is why I would argue against Tom lower than Wes. But look, this is personal preference. But those are the reasons why I would say that Wes is again, we're also not talking about like who's last. We're now talking about like who's the beginning of the top 20. But we have both disagreed with you, so you do have to. For those listening, we have had tech issues this evening, so Michelle and I cannot see Cable. He has a distinct advantage because he can hide his emotions.
Yes, I can.
And he
Unless
can't,
I
much like Ghostface, we can't read what's going on in his mind, where he can see immediately the shock in our eyes when something we don't like is pitched.
I'm going to put this up again because I still feel like it's run its course. Can we put Deputy Perkins back up?
Oh, shit.
It's 20. It's top 20 now.
All right, yeah, I can live with that. I can take that there. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah,
I'm sure you're fine with it because you
I
don't
would
like
rather
the middle.
that than Tom's death. So
All right. Goodbye, Anthony Perkins in Scream 4. We are down to 19. And me, for all the reasons that you want to put Anthony Perkins there and your surprise is that high, I'm going to say Wes again. I'm going to say Wes Hicks. There's so many other deaths that are so much better. Not the character, but the deaths, which is what we're debating here, that are so much better than Wes's kill.
Michelle?
yeah, I'm alright with that.
Cable, can you live with it?
Oh, look, I had him a little bit higher, but I'm not going to veto it.
Well, to quote his band, tell me that it's over, because it's over. You're going, Wes. I am genuinely nervous about what Michelle's going to pitch, because when I'm looking at the list, they're all so good. So I don't know where you're going to go. So, Michelle, what is your pick for 18?
I'm going back to Principal Himbry from Scream. The only thing it adds to the story is the end scene when they all drive off to see him hanging from the flagpole. But it's just he pops out from behind the cupboard. There's no inventiveness. Do you care about his character that much?
Yeah, I had an emotional impact when he died. I think the story impact, whilst perhaps not direct, like his death spurs something happening next, it certainly tells the audience.
Well, there's something it wasn't
specific.
even in the script either. It was written after the fact because they wanted another kill before the party.
He's the first adult to cop
Yes.
it. In the first one, we're talking high school students, and we find out it's high school students killing high school students, but they kill an adult. The kids
The
kill their
Fonz.
principal. That's and it's the Fonz, and you have the fun little, him stalking around trying to see what's happening. The tension builds really well with the knocking on the door. He sees Freddy Krueger out in the hallway. He scares himself with the mask. then the audience gets that moment where you see Ghostface through the glass before he does, and then you get the iconic like arms up Ghostface coming at him when the door opens. Oh man, I can't let that be that low. I have to fight it. Cable, are you going to fight it?
Yeah, I'd fight that. Yeah, I still think
you got to go back to the well.
There's
I'm
definitely
sorry,
a couple
my friend.
others that are on this list that are.
There certainly is.
Cotton?
Oh,
I actually have Cotton very high. I'm not gonna lie.
All right.
so do I. I'd
Yeah.
love to like get inside your head when you're watching a Scream movie one day, Michelle, so I could see it how you see it. Because I can't believe two people who love the Scream movies that much could watch them that differently. Maybe it's just a testament to the films and how good they are, because they can be appreciated so many different ways. But my goodness, who else? Who else do you want to break our hearts with?
Steve from Scream.
Yeah.
What do you say, Cable? What do you say?
Yeah, I kind of feel like it's here. Like I said, you're right. It sets up the movie and what you're about to watch and the brutality of it. But it's still a lot of it is there's the visual and the sound, but it was cut back so much that we don't see a lot. And it raises the stakes more for Casey. And I think, if anything, it more elevates her kill and what happens to her. I think it's very throwaway. You know, he's big, he plays football, but we've never met this guy. He's just sitting in a chair now, a bit like Charlie is in 4.
And you don't even see it. I remember watching it as a kid, being like, did they pull wires? Like, how the hell was he gutted? Because it's so quick. And like, I know they've cut frames out, but still, if you watch that realistically, how is she looking out the window? And the next thing, his guts have just gone, but you don't see anyone like sprint off into the bushes.
But do you also remember how like horrified and terrified you were when you saw that?
Yeah.
Like how immediately you knew you were in the shit with this movie. Like it wasn't fucking around. This wasn't like, you know, a knife gets shown and then there's a cutaway. It's like, no, the cutaway is here's his guts in his lap.
Well, I'm happy to give you another one.
You've been very accommodating. So I of the couple that you've pitched, I think that's the one I'd let go most easily. It makes me sad, but I'm not gonna.
It's still 18 though. It's still 18.
I had it so much higher.
Really?
I have more under that one, but you keep fighting me on everything. So
give me one more.
Phil from Scream 2.
Stop giving me more. Stop giving me more.
I think we have to concede Stephen at this point.
I'll concede Steve. I'll concede Stephen. I will accept that. That's fine. Oh my goodness. We really do watch these movies differently. There we go. 18. Stephen Orth from Scream. For context, I had Stephen Orth at 5.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Cable, 17. What have you got for us?
All right, this is going to hurt me because I'm a big fan. But I'm going to say, because I feel like I'm not going to get resistance, and I feel like there's better kills that I want to protect or at least have higher. So I'm going to say Scream 4. I'm going to say, you can't see my heart that I'm putting up on the screen right now. But
I mean, I know who it's going to be because there's only one Scream 4 character left on the list.
I was going to say, oh, well, there you go. I'm going to say Jill Roberts.
Yep, that was my next one.
Yeah, look, it wasn't my next one, but it is pretty close to my next one. So you're right. I am not going to fight you on it. I am surprised that you're the one to sacrifice her. But I think you're right. I think Jill Roberts is one of like 4 that could go into this slot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with her going here.
But she's probably still alive. You do realize this.
What?
What?
Jill? That's wackier than Stu still alive. What are you talking about?
No, it's more realistic. Trust me. Anyway, continue.
Getting shocked to the head and then shot in the chest. You reckon she's still alive?
Yeah, but she got up from being shocked in the head. All right.
Look, I think this is another one where like the best part of her death actually isn't her death. It's the lead up.
Yeah.
Whereas like any last words, clear, bang. So cool. But look, I think 17 is noble. I think that's pretty good. That's really high for our killers as well. Like, good on you, Jill. I think the next couple might be just about a foregone conclusion, but who knows what you guys are thinking. So I'm up next. There's 4 here. It could be any one of them for me. I just sort of put them in the order because I was like, that one or that one or that one, and this is the order they came out in. So I'm just going to pitch them for you bottom to top. And if you knock them back, then I'll just move on to the next one, and I will not be that upset. But I'm going to pitch for number 16, Officer Richards, Scream 2, Pole Through the Head. It's great. It's an amazing kill. It's really high. There's other amazing kills that are still left that do everything and more. The only thing that puts it this low on the list is that we don't even know this guy's first name.
Yeah, I had it maybe fractionally higher, but I can live with it. I just thought when it comes to the originality and stuff, like a lot of, and it's kind of funny because it's not an intentional kill. It's more an accident, sort of like Ghostface tries to drive into stuff to get him off or at least hurt him, I guess, but it's unintentionally. And like you said, but it is the trigger point of, the grate being broken enough that they can peel it back and escape.
And the only reason it doesn't, I'm not pushing for it to be high here, is it hits every single one of our categories except emotional impact. And the ones that are left for me hit every category, including emotional impact.
Yeah.
And that's the only way I could split it there.
And I like the gore of it, that it goes straight through his head, but also that you got the shaking hand on the gun and all that, like the twitches are still going, and And I think did Lee talk about that on his podcast, how they had to line that up and he had to hit a certain point? Yeah. So even just the practicality of them doing that scene was so reliant on it, Lee driving the car exactly to a point to make it line up with the special effect and all that sort of stuff. So I think the fact that they nailed it and it looks really good. I think it deserves to be here. Yeah, even though it's one of those funny,
kill.
Almost an intentional kill, but an unintentional kill, if that makes sense. It's kind of like he wants to hurt
kill him, just not that way.
Yeah.
All right, 15. My goodness, it's getting messy. 15, Michelle. What have you got?
Well, I'll go back to Tom Prince in Scream 3.
Whoever smells the...
Like you just said about the last one, it hits all the things, but it doesn't hit emotional impact.
Yeah, you're using my words against me, and I don't like it.
That was a plan.
But I can't argue it. It's on tape. I'd take it, and you're right. That is exactly what I said. What do you think, Cable?
No, I'm happy with it. Well, I put him up, so I think we can take him here. I think 15 is still a really good out of 45. 15 for this.
Yeah, you know what? I had it. Shit, I only had it at 13. So yeah, that's pretty good.
There's something we kind of thought would be last.
Yeah, and it is. Look, I think it's in the right spot personally, because I think that it deserves to be in the top tier just for the originality. All right, 14, Cable.
I'm going to bring this one up again. I brought it up a lot earlier, but it's come down a long way. And I'm looking at my list. And I'm going, I've got 10 kills better than this one, at least on my list. And mind you, that's not my top 10. That's like I've lost some out of the top 10. Like I said, I highlighted some great parts of it, but I still think the Sarah Darling suffers from her actual death is really mediocre through the glass, and then she's just lying there and the blood looks fake as shit. It's probably one of the worst effects they've done in a Scream movie, where they're just sort of hanging over the thing. Again, the getting her there, the Roman stuff, the lead up, the setup, him being in the racks when she gets, that's just an amazing look. So there's amazing stuff to it, but I think at the end of the day, the actual kill is crap. And I think that's my only argument. I think all the other things you would probably argue against me, I don't disagree with, but I think there's no emotional value because we know she's fodder. There's no emotional value to it. It only serves the story in that she was the next kill supposedly in the script, and that sort of moves things forward. But in the scheme of things, she's not a lovable or likable character enough. She's candy and she's supposed to be killed off. And I just think her scene would be so much better, and I would have probably top 5, top 10 if her actual kill was sort of on par with a Wes, the way the knife goes through, or just more gory, or just something really cool to kill her off. But it's just, unfortunately, because they dumbed down Scream 3, I think it suffers from that.
Yeah, look, you make a lot of great points. I didn't have it that much higher. I'm not going to fight this. I think I think this is a fair place to put that kill. What do you think, Michelle?
Yeah, I had it a bit higher, but mainly just for the, when she's in the racks with all the costumes. But as far as her
Ditto.
death is
Yeah.
just, she's stabbed and she's thrown through the window. Who cares?
Yeah, you make a strong point. That's good. All right, lock it in. 14, Sarah Darling. 13. I'm gonna throw out Judy Hicks. Scream 5. I think it's good. It's emotional. It's really a bummer that they did her character like that. We don't get more of her. People talk a lot about how, oh yeah, Scream 5, legacy characters, and it ignores all the other ones. But a character literally from the film before, one of the only surviving characters to ever be brought back, who wasn't one of the main ones, is back in Scream 5 and dies a pretty brutal death. But I think, there's better. There's worse. There's better. I think here is a good spot for this one. What say you?
No, I've got that higher because
Okay.
I just think because it happened during the day, and that was probably the only death in Scream 5 that I didn't see coming. Like, he just pops out of nowhere, and I was like, oh shit, I didn't think that was going to happen. So yeah,
Definitely hit the surprise factor really hard. Cable, what do you think?
What number are you up to?
And she's just about to come and save her son.
13.
Yes, I had it at number 12, so I'm fine with it here.
All right, then do you want to use a veto, Michelle?
No.
All right. You are really hanging on to those vetoes.
Well, so are you.
I've used one.
Oh, okay.
I used it on Perkins ages ago.
So I'm concerned what your number one's going to be.
I'm concerned what your number one is going to be.
I think we should be concerned, yes.
So 13, Judy Hicks. Way she goes. Number 12, Michelle. Who are you going to give us?
I'm still sticking with Principal Himbry.
Yeah, you might have to use a veto on that because I had him at 13.
You're saying I might have to use a veto?
Yeah, because I had it at 13, so I can't argue Michelle at this point. It would be, again, pretty dumb of me.
This is the thing. There's so few left. I had him at 10, which I know is not much higher, but the ones I have under him, I think belong under him. No, I'll take him, Rick, because I'm not going to use a veto because I'm saving that just in case. We're up to number 11, Cable.
This is going to be controversial, right? Because I love this guy. I love this guy. I have his T-shirt, or I have the T-shirt. I'm a big fan. He's one of my favorites. But I kind of feel like it has to be Mickey at this point.
What? Wow. I didn't think it was going to be you who was going to do that to me. I really didn't.
I just think there's still enough on the board. And mind you, I've lost some out of my... I think his death is kind of a weird one because there's the fight with Sydney first and there's like the banter and all that. And then he's shot quite simply by Debbie Salt after he's done his whole spiel about, trial by media, all that sort of stuff. And I'm going to blame the movies. And, he's effectively somewhat dead. And then the shock is he's the one that comes back to life. And then they just hail bullets on him. And he has this really over-the-top flying back and the boulders and all the, the styrofoam things going up everywhere and all that sort of stuff. But, I mean, in the scheme of things, his actual death is not super exciting. It's just a rain of bullets, which is, I guess, is somewhat original for a Scream movie because a lot of them don't die in a hail of bullets, but there's this weird moment where obviously he gets shot the first time, so we just assume he's dead, and then he's not consequential till a couple of minutes later after Debbie Salts. Anyway, it's just, again, I love him. I didn't really want to put him up, and I'm happy to have the fight and have the argument and choose something else.
The only fight I have is that his death perfectly embodies Randy's rules for the sequel, and that the kills are always much more elaborate. And that's exactly, like, it's so elaborate that he dies and then comes back and is, like you just said, is shot down in a hail of bullets, flies backwards, boulders fall down from a Greek tragedy set on top of his head after he's already been shot to death. Like, it is, like in the first
All right.
movie, you know, when the killer comes back, we get Billy going, ah. And in this one, we get him going, "Rah!" And then it's like it is everything that Randy tells us that it should be. That's really the only argument I have against it. However,
Well, how high do you have it though?
me,
Yeah.
I have Mickey's death in my top 10, which I know is not far away. But like I said, I think there's other deaths that are way below. But look, I'm not going to use a veto, and you've got majority on your side. So if you want to put him here, he goes here, and there's not much I can do about it.
I think it has to go here.
All right, done. Mickey. So that's number 11. Top 10, and it's back to me. Olivia Morris, Scream 4.
Ooh,
Great kill, great bloody brutal kill. Ticks so many boxes. Like, they watch, Jill watches to really throw off the scent that she's the killer. Really fantastic. Zero emotional impact, zero story impact. Well, not zero, but like low story impact, zero emotional impact, and like top 10. What's left, in my opinion, again, this isn't bad. It's just not better than what's left on the list. Like, I can't tell you anything about Olivia Morris other than she gets ripped to shreds in her bedroom, and her bedroom is covered in blood, and it's really cool. It deserves to be top 10. But
no, I've got this way higher.
wow,
Yeah, I've got it higher
Michelle.
for like brutality, but like I do agree with what you're saying. We don't.
I
really
don't.
know whether she's dead.
I disagree with your story thing. Like, yeah, she's kind of fodder. You kind of feel like she's one that will get killed, but that's when Sydney rushes in. Sydney goes in and she gets the phone call from Ghostface there, and it's like, oh, this is back on. This is happening again. And that's one of the most brutal, violent Ghostface calls as well. And I know that's not part of the criteria, but I just think it leads, storyline wise, it leads into that. And I just think the setup is like, did you see it coming when you saw the movie? Because I sure as hell didn't. I really thought the killer was in that room, or at least whatever. And he's like, oh, not this closet. And she's like, what? And then it's like over the other one. And it was like, they have to watch their friend get butchered. And like you said, like Jill's one of the killers, so she's in on it. I don't know.
It's not like, it's not, it deserves to be top 10 kill. But if I'm looking at the people left on this list, what I see is every other name left on my list ticks everything, plus it has a greater emotional impact and or story impact. Like, she's a character we don't know much about. She's a character that is just there for that death scene. That's her only purpose.
But can you honestly say that? Look, I'm looking at what's still on the list, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying necessarily some of these kills are better than Olivia either, but you're saying that. But then there's definitely some others that don't necessarily tick all the same boxes either.
All right, I've got one other I'm happy to pitch you if you guys are knocking this back. But after this, like, I really will have some strong disagreements. So my next pitch then is Jennifer Jolie from Scream 3.
Yeah, I'll take that one easy.
Michelle?
I've also got ones that I think are worse than that, but yeah, I'll take that.
Oh, okay. There you go.
Yeah, I like that in. I feel like that's a fun one too, and it's sad losing her as a character because I think she was really good for the movie. But like we discussed Scream 3, it was one of the weird ones where she's behind the glass, and it still felt like, how did Ghostface get out before we see it? Like, did we miss something in the edit? I don't know, but she just falls out dead.
Doesn't Randy tell us, like, in the video in Scream 3, the killer is basically supernatural now?
Mm-hmm.
So that's
it could be. Yeah.
Ghostface is an actual ghost.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I those two I just put up. I am happy with either way. I'm happy that they're both in top 10. Tip of the cap to Jennifer Jolie. You served us well. I just really love, like, when she's about to murder, she's like, you can't kill me, I'm the killer. And stab 3. It's like, just so good and so well delivered. Anyway, she's done. Number 9, Michelle.
Phil from Scream 2.
Look, it's getting harder and harder to fight because we're in the top 9.
He has, like, it moves the story along, but I don't think he has any emotional impact. He's in it for like 2 minutes.
You are correct. When I was putting this list together, like part of what I was doing is remembering context, and like Omar Epps and Jada Pinkett, when this movie came out, like she was on the poster.
Mhm.
Like I thought they were some of the new major characters. So while their screen time is short, I was like, these characters are going to witness a murder or get threatened by Ghostface. They're not going to be the victims because I know these actors. They're famous. They're going to be a big part of this movie. And nope, they're gone. Like both of them, the 1-2 punch. And he's like listening to the subtle nod to like other slasher movies with him hearing the weird creepy whisper, which is obviously Mickey, because Mickey's watched so many horror movies, so he knows, like, do it, mommy. He's like, what? And then getting stabbed in the head. Did not see that coming. Yes, I have always thought, like, every time I went into a public bathroom for years afterwards, I would feel the wood and be like, that's some strong wood. How do you get a knife through that? But you know, if you're going to start pulling apart, how does Ghostface do the things they do?
We should actually try it. We should do our own Mythbusters and see if that actually works.
See if we can stab a hunt. You've got the replica, don't you? We'll sharpen up your replica and see if go down.
We don't have to sharpen it.
Go into High Point and go into the bathroom. And be like, all right, let's go. Oh man, look, I what do you think? Are you going to let this in here? Cable?
Yeah, I actually had it fractionally outside my top 10, but again, it was one of those ones on a bit of a sliding scale, so I'm happy.
Well, I'm not going to use a veto, so
because I think, like you said, I went into the movie thinking, you know, again, because the first one was, you know, at the time very white, and it was kind of like, oh, we're going to introduce some African American characters, and like you said, they were on the rise, and I kind of think, well, they could have fallen into the Drew Barrymore, Casey Becker thing, but then I was like, oh, maybe they're just there and they witness something else, or something happens, or we not necessarily would get a kill in the first scene. That was the other thing I was thinking about. That might be just to set up to see stab, and then the next kill would be something else. So there was definitely the shock factor of it. And yeah, like I said, I wasn't expecting them to be killed off so quickly. And it was kind of original and kind of creepy, the whole I'm going to the bathroom. And the fact that it was at the setting that it was at, in a cinema full of Ghostface.
Well, everyone is a Ghostface, yeah. But yeah, look, you know, I can kick and scream about it, but also it's number 9. Like, that's pretty damn high. So I think that's pretty fair. What are you going to pitch for 8, Cable?
Okay, so as our numbers are dwindling, there's only so many options.
Exactly.
And the lowest one I actually have, I feel like I'm going to get massive pushback for.
What's it gonna be?
You know what, stuff, I'm going to say it because we're getting to the business end, and this is where we're going to alternate. I'm just going to throw it out as one because I think it's a cool death scene, but is he really dead? Stu Marker at number 8.
What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you talking about? You're going to tell me that Stu Marker's death hits less criteria than Olivia, no one remembers my whole name, Morris. Really? Also,
he's a killer. He's a killer, but he's a killer.
Yeah, and he's dead. Like, how many people get killed by a television in this series?
Exactly. Well, exactly. But did he get killed?
It's way.
Okay, I'm just saying it. So, okay. So, what do you think, Michelle? Where did you have Stu?
I actually have Olivia higher than him, but more for the brutality than the, you know, everything else.
Okay, but where did you have Stu on your list roughly, or have you?
He's in my top 5.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Yeah. Well, okay. We'll then go next one on my list. His girlfriend, Tatum Riley.
Get in the bin.
You can't see my face.
Get in the bin. Get in the bin.
Again.
Live in the bin.
Mm-hmm. Try again.
Well, at this point, you kind of almost have to veto it.
No, we don't, because we both agree that you're wrong.
No, but there's only so many on the list. You can't just keep saying no, because then this is what happened with the rankings. That they just slide around and.
There's no way that Stu and or Tatum's death.
All right, give me one. Throw me. What do you?
Olivia
think
Morris, or if you want to meet in the middle, Cotton Weary.
I'd take Cotton.
You cannot, in any sane argument, put Olivia and Cotton above Tatum and Stu.
Agreed.
Like, where's the emotional impact in Olivia's death? Where's the emotional impact in Stu and Tatum's death? Where's the originality? Like Tatum and Stu both have really original, recognizable kills.
Yeah.
Olivia just gets
I'm
cut
not
up.
I'm not arguing that point. So you want to put Cotton Weary in this spot?
If it's between Cotton and Tatum and Stu, yeah.
Let's put in Cotton Weary then.
It was a simple game, Cotton. You should have told me where Sydney was. Now, you lose.
And number 8.
All right. Cotton bites the dust. Back to me. How hard are you guys going to fight for Olivia Morris?
Not that hard anymore.
Like at number 8. Do you think that's an injustice, Cable?
Somewhat. I'm looking at my list and
I can pitch one more for you if you want.
all right, go. Give me
Maureen Evans.
Jeez, you're killing me here, Smalls. Yeah, I could let go of Maureen Evans, I think.
Number 6, Michelle.
You both are going to fight me on this one, but my next one would be Cece.
Don't worry about that.
No, this I had her at this spot.
It's a good lead up to her death, but then at the end she just gets stabbed and thrown off the building. So the lead up to her death is cool, but her actual death, which you've mentioned before, is not that exciting.
I will state my case.
Yeah, state it.
You guys can do what you want. So her death, what makes her death cool is literally the death that Sydney talks about in Scream 1. It's the death she talks about as being the dumb death, the blonde bindo running up the stairs when she should be out. Like Cece literally says, I'm out of here, goes out the door, and then doesn't. She goes back in and then winds up running up the stairs. And then she gets, like you talk about, there's not a lot of chases. It's a cool chase scene where she gets hunted down. It's a character that we thought we were going to get more of. Again, like it's Sarah Michelle Gellar playing this character. And in, 97 when this came out, that was like, what? She dies that quickly? And oh my goodness, the way that she gets killed when Scream 2 comes out, like we hadn't seen that yet. That was a new one. It's really pretty brutal. Like she's not dead when she gets thrown off. You talk about like we don't know if Rebecca was dead or not. We know Cece's alive. She gets stabbed a little bit and then thrown off. And then when she hits the ground, the fucking swing by Everclear comes. What the hell?
So this is number 1, yeah.
No, it's not my number 1, but it is in my top 5. It's in my top 5, and it is. If you're gonna like, just off the top of your head, talk about deaths that you remember as being fucking cool from Scream, I would never have thought that we would be saying that Olivia Morris from Scream 4 is a cooler, better, more interesting death.
What's the best kill out of
Cece Cooper from Scream 2? Yeah, it's the best kill in Scream 4, no doubt. It's the last death in Scream 4 that we have left on the list as well. So look, I'm not gonna blow a veto on this because you guys feel very passionately about Olivia, and I respect that. But I'm stunned, shocked, and amazed, and that's the reasons why. So you sticking with it? That's CC's going there.
I had it at 7, so fine by me.
All right, in she goes at 6. Is that where we are?
6, yep.
All right, I had her at 4.
Well, it's not a huge stretch, man.
Yeah, but again, Olivia, I can't get over Olivia is still on this list. I had her at 15. Like there's so many other deaths that I was like, oh yeah, they'll be long gone when we get to.
You just want to win again.
I just want reason to prevail. I want to live in a sane, just world. All right, 5, Cable, number 5.
No, well, I had Stu Marker out of my 5.
Yeah, so do I.
So that's kind of where I'm at. It's kind of like, yeah, it was cool. It's a TV, blah, blah, blah. And maybe subconsciously it's this whole, is he still alive bullshit? Because I feel like we're going to do this list and have him as one of the best kills. And then they go, he's alive in Scream 6. He's the mastermind.
I think his kill's great, but I think it's more the lead up, like when they're stabbing each other. But that wouldn't technically be how he died.
Yeah.
It leads to it, but him getting the TV on the head, like it's cool.
They're killers who are inspired to kill by watching horror movies at home on their TV.
Yeah.
And she kills him by throwing the TV on his head.
Okay.
And
okay.
you're going to
yes.
tell me some no-name bimbo who's in 2 scenes
Hey,
who
that's
happens
harsh.
to get some blood thrown around is a better kill.
But I think the surprise of Olivia, like you said, that it's not that closet, it's the other closet, them having to watch their friend die, Sydney having to come and discover it is more, if you don't want to say there's an emotional impact of Olivia dying, there's the emotional impact of Sydney having to go in there and see that she's been
But that's not what the kill
over.
is. That's not what the kill is. Like, I don't even think Olivia's parents care that she's dead. Everyone cares that Stu's dead. People care so much that Stu's dead that we're debating now whether or not he's dead or not.
Yeah, but that's now. That wasn't, if you go back to when the movie came out, or people going, oh God, Stu's dead, I wish he was still alive. Because if you want to argue that, I would argue that for Billy as well, from my personal.
We also don't even really see like Olivia die. You see the aftermath. You see her get stabbed a bit, but it's the aftermath that you guys are thinking about.
Oh no, but I think she gets thrown around a fair bit. But I think again, it's the lead up.
You don't see her guts get pulled out. But Michelle just said the lead up to Stu's death doesn't count. Like she said, the lead up is cool, but really it's just him getting, like, if the lead up to Olivia's death counts, then the lead up to Stu's death counts. And Stu's death, if you're putting in all the elements, all those elements are more impactful. There's more tension.
I think we're missing,
because if Stu doesn't die, Sydney dies. That's the stakes. If Olivia doesn't die, then Olivia doesn't die.
He's still alive anyway. Let's be honest.
So you have to let that go.
No,
because if you're gonna
no, but what I'm saying is
Stu's death because you think he's still alive.
That's a complete. I'm taking the piss. I'm taking the piss. What I'm trying to say is, there's a little bit of a chase. He loses the gun and he chases Sydney, and then she overwhelms and puts the TV on his head. It's pretty simple. Like, I get, like what you're saying, the subtext of him and Billy just watching so many movies, and the irony being that his TV falls on his head. But Olivia's is a whole setup of a phone call and a misdirect, and that builds up the tension. That's the suspense of that part of that movie. Whereas the actual kill of Stu is just a very almost like anticlimactic kill, and that's the problem with all the kills. Unfortunately, I feel like they probably don't, have the most exciting death scenes. Like Billy, like we put him at 25, like he just pretty much gets a bullet to the head. Yeah, there's a lead up of getting stabbed with the umbrella, but it's not much of an exciting death on screen. I would say Stu's still in that sort of ballpark. Yeah, it's different and original because it's TV, but there's no super setup for Stu at all.
But you're saying it's different original, like it's not a major category. Inventiveness, surprise or shock factor, emotional impact, story impact, looks cool, originality.
Yeah, but doesn't Olivia tick more of those boxes than Stu though?
No, there's no emotional impact. There's no story impact. It's not original. It's not inventive. There's a little bit of surprise. There's a little bit of story impact.
No, I think it is inventive that the phone call's coming from inside the other room, and they think it's in the.
But that
no. Do you not?
She's on the phone with Ghostface.
Yeah.
And then Ghostface pops out of a hiding space and kills her. Like if I said to you, "Hey, remember that kill where
no, but she's not
on the phone with Ghostface and Ghostface pops out and kills them," but I didn't tell you I was specifically talking about that kill. I could be talking about a whole bunch. If I said, "Hey, remember that kill where one of the killers gets his fucking skull smashed by a television?" Talking about originality and inventiveness. Like, how many scenes is Ghostface on the phone with someone and then pops out of a closet and attacks someone?
Yeah, but that's
happens to Sydney 5 times a movie.
I think because it's not her closet that he's, you think he's going to pop out of Jill's closet and then to find him in the other house.
Which is the surprise factor, but it's not original. It's just surprising that it's a different cupboard to the one you expect.
I think original is important for the categories to a point, but at the end of the day, most of the kills are Ghostface in costume with a buck knife. So anything that's outside that is always going to win on the original scale. And it's like, well, but that's not. And having said that, it's the killer. It's the victim turning it on the killer. So
and it's the first time it happens, which is significant. This is the first killer that Sydney kills. It's the first time that she crosses over to being someone who will kill to fight for her life and defend herself. And it propels not just the story for the rest of Scream, it propels the story for all the Screams. Because if she doesn't kill Stu in that moment, if she doesn't choose to kill him and fight for her life to the point where she will take life to live, her character is totally different for every other Scream film. And you don't have the same arc that you get out of that moment. Again, if Olivia doesn't die in that moment, then Olivia doesn't die. And she's probably not in the rest of the movie because she's in hospital because she got cut a bit. Like, we're talking grand impact of a death and what it means, not just in the scene that it's in, but in the story. You're talking about one of the most significant moments in the main character of the Scream franchise's life. It's the first time she's forced to kill someone. And she does it in a fucking badass way that is not only a cool meta nod, which is what the whole movie is about, but is also brutal as shit. Like, she smashes his skull and electrocutes him in one go. That's fucking horrific.
Michelle?
Am I swaying you at all, Michelle?
Yeah. She's either going to be 5 or 4. Like, it really doesn't matter to me that much.
I can't remember whose turn it was. Did I put?
Your turn.
It's your turn. You opened it to debate. And you made the mistake of opening the floor.
No, well, I'm trying to be reasonable and trying to get the orders right. I just don't. I just think we just agree to disagree, really, because I think Olivia's death sort of ticks more boxes than Stu's, because Stu is revealed to be the killer. So of course, anything to survive and win, Sydney does.
You say of course, but it's not of course at this point, because it's not a foregone conclusion at this point in Scream, because it's never, like I said, it's never happened before. In Scream 4, yeah, of course she's gonna fucking shoot and stab and kill, and she's not gonna hesitate because that's who she is now. But she becomes that Sydney Prescott in that moment when she's running for her life from this deranged killer, and she sees an opportunity and she's like, I'm gonna fucking kill you. That is who I'm gonna become. I mean, obviously you're still on Olivia higher than Stu. Where are you at, Michelle? What does your heart tell you?
You're swaying me.
History knows how I feel.
Quite on par if you want to keep arguing it. Like, everyone has good points, but yeah.
That's all right. If you guys both have it higher, and I'm not going to use a veto, so I just have to cop it. Stu goes at number 5. The last of our killers. That is our Scream killers gone. All right, which means it's back to me. For the love of God, it's Olivia. It's Olivia. It's Olivia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, I'll take. I was going to push. Do I use a veto or not?
Olivia Morris and Anthony Perkins have become the 2 most contentious deaths in the Scream franchise. So really anything could happen, even with only 4 names left. Are you going to veto Olivia at number 4, Cable?
Yeah, I will.
You're going to veto it?
Yeah.
Wow.
You're going to regret it, because you have to accept my next pick.
It depends what it is.
You've already vetoed and you're out of veto, so it has to be Michelle who vetoes now.
Yeah, okay. I trust Michelle will make the right decision.
Okay. On your own head be it. Then going at number 4 is Casey Becker.
No, veto.
Really?
That is seriously the dumbest pick of all time.
So you're going to put Olivia Morris in the top 3 or the top 2?
I don't want to. I was happy with her at 4. Doesn't that push her back to 4?
Well, no, because I'm picking 4 right now. And so I can't put her at 4 because she's been vetoed. And you just vetoed Casey Becker. Then Randy.
Son of a...
Oh, I'm surprised.
Yeah, I can take Randy. Yeah. I will accept your offer of Randy.
All right. Randy is number 4. Who's number 3, Michelle?
Well, then it's got to be Olivia.
Yes, it does. Cable, you're out of vetoes.
No, it's fine. I'm happy there.
There it is. All right, Cable, who is number 2?
It's Tatum Riley. It has to be.
Veto.
But if I've still got 1 veto left, can't I win this now?
Yeah, it just pretty much comes to majority
Because
rules.
then you have to put up Casey as number 2.
No, you can't.
Well, it doesn't
Because
matter.
I vetoed as
There's
I
only
could
2
in the last
choices.
round. Yeah,
There's only 2 choices.
And I vetoed one of them, which means you can't use Tatum in this. You can't use Tatum in this pick. You have to pick Casey.
No, that's
No, because...
Nah, not at this point.
Because otherwise, what's the point of a veto?
I think when you're down to the final two, if the other two, that's the point of the rankings.
Yeah, why
anyway.
bother?
It's like-
But then
because
why
then-
bother having majority rules for everything else?
yeah.
Then why bother having vetoes?
Yeah, but then I can use my veto on the next round and put Casey as number one because I've still got
Yeah,
one
so
left.
we're just
Otherwise,
going-
I
we're
can't
going-
use my veto
But you
at
can't
all.
because you can't
We're
you
going around in
can't
circles.
pick
though.
you can't pick a name that's been vetoed.
But then I can't use my last veto. So what's the point of the vetoes? That's dumb.
The point is you should have used your vetoes earlier or thought this through.
No, but so should you though. That's the same argument.
I did think it through. When the order was first picked, I thought through how I was going to use my vetoes.
It's a lot different when there's 40 names on the list and you want to veto something and move it up.
Yeah.
But when there's literally two names on the list, that's
Yeah.
when it comes down to what's the majority rule.
No, it's when it comes
Yeah.
down to who has vetoes left.
And I
You
think
can-
we've
can-
we've lost the point of the actual podcast because it's supposed to be Sequel Sucks ranking of the kills. We all have a say, but at the end of the day, isn't it supposed to be majority? So if me and Michelle are saying Casey Becker is the best death scene in the series, does that not take precedence?
Then why do we have vetoes?
Yeah, but like I know there's a strategy to them, but it's more to fight for something, not to keep one up your sleeves for the last two votes.
Yeah, it is. It is if I knew that I was going to be outvoted on it and that I disagreed.
I hear what you're saying, but then it makes no sense if we're going around in circles over a veto and Michelle's still got one. It's different if I'll concede that if you were the only one that had one left and me and Michelle had burnt all ours, you've got the power. But if Michelle's got it too, she has every right to veto, and you've only got two choices. We can't keep going around in circles about it. So it doesn't, my opinion, break the tie like you did before. Do I not break the tie?
That's part of the spanner in the works of this selection. Like, why if the vetoes aren't going to matter when it comes to the final two, why have vetoes at all?
Well, we're dealing with 45 kills.
But why can't you fight for the final one? Isn't that the most important one?
But
You can, but you're going to lose in a majority.
Which is why I
Yeah.
saved a veto to use right now.
There's obviously a difference of opinion, and I want to hear your reasonings for why Tatum should be number one over Casey Becker, which blows my mind because I totally thought you had Casey 100% locked at
oh
one.
no, I thought Randy would be his number one.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, I thought we all probably would have had Casey close to one.
No, so my argument for Tatum being number one is that the Tatum and Casey deaths are largely the same in the way that they are set up, the way that they are shocking, the way that you don't want it to happen, but they're really cool. What wins out, what makes Tatum a better death is, I said it a bunch throughout this episode, the emotional impact. We don't know much about Casey Becker other than it's Drew Barrymore who plays her. Like the actual character, we don't know at all. And yes, it's the first big, it's not even the first kill of the movie, but it's the first big kill of the movie. And the mum scene is pretty horrific and it's pretty full on. But you talk about how there were deaths where people just move on. People just move on from this death real quick. Like it gets mentioned once and then people are done with it because we never see her interact with anyone else in the film. Tatum is a major character in this. She's Sydney's best friend. And we don't realize at the time it's her boyfriend who kills her. So she's one of the four core group that get killed. And the way that she gets killed is one of, if not the most inventive death in the entire franchise. She gets killed by a friggin' garage door. Like no one has ever before or since been killed like that, except in Scream 4 when they try and reference the death, and they don't even do it as well. They just close the door on her. They don't kill her with the door. Like she gets stuck in a cat door and dragged up in and killed, and it is brutal and full. It's unflinching. It doesn't cut away. Like we get a lot of cutaways from Casey's death, and then we see the aftermath. There's no cutaway from Tatum. You watch her die, and it is full on. And it also lets you know that literally everyone is on the table right now. Like Tatum was a major character. She had so much to do with this film. She drove a lot of the plot and the story, and she's just gotten killed. So every single other character, with maybe the exception of Sydney, because we know that she's the first name on the credits, every single other character is going to be killed or potentially killed. It really sets up Billy's fake death. Because if Tatum can die, Billy can die, without a doubt. So we really believe that Billy is friggin' dead when he stumbles down those stairs. Like there's so many other trickle-down points when we see Stu come to the door and he's crying and saying, Tatum's dead, I found her, Tatum's dead. That completely throws us off any idea that Stu is a killer, because he looks like he's really messed up that he just saw his girlfriend dead. And we know how she died. It was messed up. And it makes us think, Jesus, Randy might be the killer, or literally anyone could be the killer. And we are very lost as an audience and very confused about who the killer is, because Billy's dead, Tatum's dead, Stu looks genuinely upset. Randy, there's no way Randy could be the killer, right? Maybe he could. Shit, maybe it is actually Gail Weathers. She seems, cold-hearted and mean. Like, it spirals off so many things that lead to a really, really satisfying payoff at the end of this movie. And while Casey Becker's death is brutal and cool, and the first, whoa moment we get in the movie, it does not do any of the things that Tatum's death does. And it is also not as original. It's gruesome, but I have seen someone stabbed and strung up before in horror movies, especially in the 80s.
But did you not argue that Steve's death sort of sets the whole thing off? Does Casey Becker's death not set that off even more when that's the first one Tatum comes to school and says,
we
Casey
lose some of
Becker...
the impact of Casey's death because we've already seen Steve die, so we know the stakes are real. Like, when she dies, it's not like, oh my God, she's dead. Yeah, we've just seen her boyfriend gutted. So we already know that this is literally life and death, and there's a chance that she's not going to make it out. But that's the self-contained story that takes place pre-credits, and it has minimal impact on the rest of the movie. And their deaths are really just practice for Stu and Billy. They don't connect to anything, because we find out, even though Stu thought they were just killing for fun, Billy has a motive, and his motive is to fucking ruin Sydney's life and then kill her. And Sydney doesn't even really know Casey Becker that well. I was just trying out if they can actually kill people.
Look, you make some really, really good points, because I agree with you a lot of the stuff you've said about Tatum, so don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to fight. But I think, for me, Casey Becker is so iconic because it was so unexpected. Seeing Stephen dead, you kind of think, oh, she's going to get out. This is Drew Barrymore. She's on the poster. She's the marquee signing for this film. And, it was probably, we've seen movies where, like, When a Stranger Calls and other things similar to that, where there's been a phone call and someone's maybe in the house in another room or something like that. But this was one of the first ones where they used mobile phone technology. Obviously, there was two killers, so stalking, they're isolated. And it just, like I said, I guess the negatives for it doesn't really serve the story or the characters as a whole, but it sets off this whole franchise and is so iconic that I think, it's one of those deaths in horror films that gets mentioned a lot. And no disrespect to Tatum, but that probably doesn't get, and I know we're just talking about the Scream franchise, so it shouldn't matter what's said in the horror thing, but I think Casey's one is so unexpected and shocking. And like you said, she's strung up. She knows the killer. We see that she knows the killer. We see her get chased and Lee Widow put the knife through her chest. And the fact that she's still on the phone and they can hear her breathing. And the fact that she almost gets to her mum and dad, but she can't speak. There's just all this stuff that happens. It just makes it so perfect an opening for a movie. I still remember the first time I obviously saw it. This is the first big scene. And that just sucks you into this franchise straight away. You're like, oh my God, that is just so epic, so unexpected, so shocking. Oh, I'm along for this ride. This is going to be an awesome movie. And I would argue that part of the success of Scream and the word of mouth as it built in American cinemas back in 1996 would have been on the back of, you've got to see this opening scene. Like, not just the whole movie, like, you won't believe what happens in the first scene kind of thing. And I think that just, I don't know. I don't hate Tatum almost probably being number one, but I just think Casey Becker just has to pip it.
I think so too. And I'm not saying that Tatum's a bad choice. You have good points. I'm not arguing any of that. But yeah, I agree. I think Casey Becker's got to be number one.
I think, but for me too, it's the reveal of the Ghostface as well. We see Ghostface for the first time, and it is, I think the thing that works maybe against Tatum for me is that it's, by this stage in the movie, there's people in Ghostface masks running around the school and that, and when she comes in, she goes, "You're mucking around, Randy." Like, she thinks it's a joke, and he just nods his head and all that, and we know, oh shit, it probably is the killer. Whereas in the first bit, we don't know. We haven't seen the killer. I had never seen the ghost face mask. So when she's looking through the window and you see the flash he run across the room and all that, and you're like, oh my God, shit. And, the popcorn's going off and there's the smoke and all that. And then she puts her head up and then the ghost face just turns and smashes through the glass. And you can't, I don't know, first impressions are everything. And I just think that scene as a first impression just can't be matched. But
look, there's no argument that the Casey Becker scene is full on and is classic and amazing. I've in the interest of solidifying a top one, I'll throw away my veto for the last round and let majority rule.
You're such a good sport.
If you guys are that locked in on it, then we'll do it. I just think that I think the emotional impact aspect, I was way more emotionally invested in Tatum's character and therefore way more emotionally affected when she died.
I'm glad, I'm glad you talked it out too, Angus, and all we've talked about, because I do think when you say emotional connection and moving forward in the franchise, she's obviously Dewey's little sister as well. And, obviously Sydney's best friend. There's definitely more of an emotional connection. And then how does that fit in with the whole, Stu used to go out with Casey, but then he dumped her for Steve, all that sort of stuff. Yeah, I think there's definitely, that anchor point of that emotional anchor point and story point is important. But I think to start the franchise off, I think Casey's just, you're right, there's no real connection to the other characters apart from her sitting next to Sydney in English. I will say I'm a Tatum fan, so don't get me wrong, but I will say
I think the fact that she got to the end and it was Tatum and Casey 1-2 punch, I think shows we're all Tatum fans.
Yeah, I think if you want to talk about just the uniqueness of her death, then Tatum wins hands down. But I think if you go through all of that list, I think you can't go past the Casey Becker scene. Lee Waddell will kill us if he's not number one.
I feel like I have to be, fair and transparent too. I love the originality of Tatum's death, but that's why I had it a little bit low. I think I had it 7 or 8. And the problem I have with it is, while it's kind of cool, I'm still a bit of a skeptic that when I analyze movies and I go, yeah, okay, I can suspend disbelief for this moment or this thing or this happening. That's kind of realistic enough. I'm sure if they did Mythbusters, it would prove that works, whatever. I don't know about the weight. I know she's not a heavy person at all, but the dog door and, it being able to power up with her in it, debatable to me. So that's why I've always maybe had it as a bit more of a goofy death and never rated it as highly. I still had it, like I said, top 10, close to top 5 or whatever it was. But that's probably where I come down on it a little bit too. It's but I love.
Where did you have Tatum, Michelle?
It was number 3.
Number 3. All right. Look,
Randy was number 2.
Yeah, I had Randy at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow.
Yeah. It's big, again, emotional impact. I care a lot more about Randy Meeks than I do about Casey Becker. So when he died, it still to this day makes me sad. And
this is the thing. You know me. I'm a huge Randy fan, and that hit me absolutely in the guts when that happened. But I think the lead up, yes, he's on a phone call, he's bantering with the killer, and it's unexpected because they smartly don't show us the van on the angle. We see the van at one point, but then he's away from it, and then the way they shoot it, they don't let us know he's really close to the van, and then he gets pulled in, and that's the shock value, and he gets a couple of stabs. But I still feel like that scene, while emotionally, again, hits all those story points, emotional, all that sort of stuff. I think the actual, maybe I'm a psycho, but I just think the brutality isn't as there compared to some of the other stuff.
And I think the emotional impact is subjective, and it depends how you we do want to rank this, but I would say that you would say Dewey would be really high on your emotional ranking, but you've made him the last kill.
Yeah.
So whereas Tatum's maybe more emotionally up there for all of us.
Yeah.
But for if you look at, say, the Scream community, as a whole, and I know that's not how we're ranking it, but I think everyone would probably put Casey Becker's death as number one.
And we're not here for the popularity vote either.
No,
Actually,
I'm not saying
I'm
that.
sure that people will shred my selection of anything other than Casey Becker as number one. I'm prepared for that.
I'm actually glad. To be totally honest, I'm rapt that you actually had something different, because I think it would have been a little bit ho-hum if we got to the end and we debated all these other selections. We all said Casey Becker, which I thought that's the way it was going, or always, until I'm like, well, clearly it's Casey Becker's the first one.
I'm glad that Olivia Morris didn't wind up being the most hotly debated kill of the franchise. Got close. I'm not going to run through the entire list again. People can listen back, or we'll post it on socials if you want to see every single one in order if you've forgotten. But I will recap the top 10 just so people know where the real pointy end of stuff landed. Coming in at number 10 is Jennifer Jolie from Scream 3. Number 9, Phil Stevens, Scream 2. Number 8, Cotton Weary, Scream 3. Number 7, Maureen Evans, Scream 2. Number 6, CC Cooper, Scream 2. Cue the Swing by Everclear. Number 5, Stu Marker, a killer, our highest ranked killer as well. Number 4, Randy Meeks from Scream 2. Number 3, Olivia Morris, the one that became the big one for this episode. Number 2, Tatum Riley from Scream. And number 1 kill for the sequel suck ranking, Casey Becker from Scream. It literally all began with a scream and ended in 2023 when they go to New York, and it still probably doesn't end there. We were pretty close in our top. Do we want to quickly run through our top 5 to see how close we were in our personal top 5s?
Yeah, why not?
I had going from 5 to 1. I had Stephen Orth, CC Cooper, Casey Becker, Randy Meeks, Tatum Riley was my 5 to 1. What did you have 5 to 1, Michelle?
Oh, I'll do it the other way. Casey Becker, Randy, Tatum, Olivia, and then Stu, or it might have been Dewey. Things changed.
All right. What about you, Cable? What was your personal?
Yeah, so I didn't have. I'll give you what I've written as my top 5, but it was settling on the start of this podcast. I had Dewey at 5, Cotton Weary at 4, Maureen Evans at 3, Olivia Morris 2, Casey Becker 1.
Wow.
I feel like our top 10s were all pretty even, just mixed around a little.
Yeah, except you kept trying to do Principal Hembry dirty. So he was my number 10. You kept trying to throw him way down the list.
I don't know. It's not one that, impacts me much when I watch that movie.
Why do you hate the Fonz? Hey, come on. What did Arthur Fonzarelli ever do to you? This is
never
brutal.
seen
This
Happy
is brutal.
Days,
And
so.
I had I'm not surprised. I had the arrogance and the foolishness to suggest that we could be in and out in 90 minutes or less on this one, because I really thought we'd agree more. We didn't, which is fine. It was a lot of fun. Tears were shed, fires were lit, blood was drawn. But
you can't see my tears, but
we have the official sequels suck Scream Kills list. We will put that in some kind of comprehensive order, because the way that I've written it down makes sense to no one other than me right now. And we'll put it up on some of our socials so people can see the actual list. If you're listening along like, wait, what? They forgot about such and such. We didn't. We got every single one of them. I promise. We triple checked this before we went to air because we care probably too much. That was fun. I think it was fun. I think it was
as long
fun.
as you haven't quit, clearly. So
no. Look,
and you didn't win this time, so but you
I didn't get my dead last. I didn't get my number one. So we'll have to find something else to rank so that
But I'll give you a participation award. Thank you for being here, Angus.
Oh my goodness. I need Bex and a lie down. Thank you for joining us for our ranking of the Scream Kills lists. We hope it pumps up the blood for Ghostface Takes New York, and we will see you the next time that we remember not all sequels suck. Now cue whatever song plays when Casey Becker dies, because apparently The Swing isn't the number 1 anymore. All right, bye.
Never said I was innocent. I won't burn